Chapter 455. Muronging had not been home for 5 days. For the past 5 days, Li Fan had been living alone in the empty house. Needless to say, he was not used to it. In the past few days, other than going to class and wiping out the yellow uniform syndicate, he had also been practicing. In the past, Li Fan had thought that he had reached the limit of his external skills. But now he realized that his external skills were far from enough. The key was how to perfectly combine the external force with the internal force and evolve a new martial art of his own. Lu Jinchan was nothing. If he could do it, then so could he. Who said that high school students could only learn to do test papers and play games? He could do more. But practicing martial arts was not something that could be mastered in 2 or 3 days. When one reached Li Fan's level, it was even more difficult to improve. Li Fan had already practiced a few times. He stood in the training room on the 3rd floor of his house and exhaled. He felt that he was one step closer to the strength he wanted. He turned to look at the moon outside. It seemed that it was time to get busy. The past few nights had been crazier than usual. For the yellow uniform group, the past few nights had been nothing short of a nightmare. The yellow uniform syndicate had many forces in City A. Almost all of the shady deals were controlled by the yellow uniform syndicate. This was originally the yellow uniform syndicate's proudest achievement, but now it had become their Achilles heel. Almost 80% of their forces had suffered a devastating blow. There were still 20% who survived, but no one knew where the 4 crazy bastards would attack next. Wang Baiqiang's underling stood in the city hospital, looking at Dao, who was smoking ice on the stool. The dark and skinny pervert's eyelids were twitching slightly. The underling could not understand, was this guy here to watch over the place or to enjoy himself? Are you sure that the 4 won't come here? The underling asked because he felt that Dao did not take today's mission to heart. He did not know why his big brother would trust this lunatic. To the underling, instead of hiring this lunatic, it was better to hire some professional fighters to kill those 4 bastards. Don't worry, they will definitely come. Knife opened its eyes and sucked in the ice on its blade. No one knew if he was delusional or if he was still rational. How can you be sure? I guessed. Knife laughed strangely. They will definitely come. What a lunatic. The little brother was speechless. If it wasn't for his big brother telling him to look after this madman, he really wouldn't want to stay with him for even a minute. He had to keep his distance from this kind of person. Soon. They're almost here, the saber was still whispering, its voice sounding like a moan. The underling couldn't help but roll his eyes. Fuck, what the fuck would they do? They had visited this city hospital twice. Almost all the people were killed, and the remaining people were scared away. Those who continued to work as scalpers today were all brave. Correspondingly, the price of the registration had also doubled. The extra money was all earned by the scalper. If it wasn't for the money, no one would dare to do it. As the saying goes, people die for wealth, and birds die for food. Knife suddenly became agitated, and his eyelids twitched even more violently. Coming. They're coming. The underling wanted to curse. Fuck, are you fucking orgasmic? Just when the underling was suppressing his anger, the door of the city hospital was suddenly pushed open. 4 men in black walked in. The leader had a pair of diamond-studded braces on his hands. Behind him were 2 men with flat-top haircuts holding baseball bats. The last one was a strong man carrying a mace stained with blood. The underling was stunned for a moment. Looking at them, they should be the 4 people mentioned before. How did this psycho predict it? The 4 of them had actually come. What the fuck? There were almost no people in this city hospital, and these 4 madmen actually wanted to have sex. After this, no scalpers would dare to come to the city hospital in the future. Ruthless. Even if they were enemies, the underling had to praise them. These 4 opponents were indeed ruthless. They were the only ones who could be so ruthless. These fellows had definitely come prepared. Moreover, their plan was thorough. It was complete. Who were they working for? Who were they working for? Interesting, the 4 of you are really interesting. Knife licked his knife crazily, as if he was getting excited. All of you don't move. I want to enjoy the 4 of them alone. Knife screamed. A strong scalper seemed to want to make a contribution. He took out 2 axes from his back and roared as he charged forward. Behind him, a hand suddenly grabbed his head, blocking his way. At the same time, the other hand held a knife and slid it across his throat. Pfft! Blood gushed out from the man's neck. He knelt on the ground, clutching his neck, and gurgling sounds came from his mouth. The people around were frightened. This guy was too crazy. Furthermore, it was too ferocious. That scalper was also a good fighter. He would have no problem fighting 1 or 2 people at a time. But at this moment, his neck was slit by a knife. The scalpers were so scared that they peed their pants. The underling was also trembling. Who would not be afraid of this psycho who would even kill his own people? Who dares to interfere? Whoever dares to interfere will die. Knife screamed as he pounced on the person opposite him. This kind of powerful guy was like a hunting dog, inspiring awe and respect. On the other hand, the leading man on the opposite side directly swung his fist and accurately hit Dao Dao's cheek. Bam! Knife's head was directly twisted 180 degrees, and all his teeth were knocked out. He fell to the ground and died. This saber was killed in a single exchange. The underling was dumbfounded. That was Big Brother's trump card. Now, he was killed. Each of you, 1 leg. Li Fan ordered softly, and the 3 people behind him immediately pounced forward like wolves and tigers, breaking the legs of the scalpers who were still running out to earn money without caring about their lives. Even the underling was not spared. His right leg was also broken, and he lay on the ground in pain. Until now, this little brother still couldn't understand why Big Brother had brought back the knife. Just as Li Fan and the rest were about to leave, the door of the hospital was suddenly pushed open, and more people came in from the outside. Wang Baiqiang led a group of elites, each with an axe, staring at the 4 people in the lobby like tigers watching their prey. At some point in time, there were no other patients in the lobby of the hospital. Wang Baiqiang looked at Li Fan with a cigarette in his mouth and sneered. Damn, I knew it. Knife's premonition is definitely right. Today, this hospital has been cleared by me. None of the 4 of you can escape. Chapter 456. The only reason why Wang Baiqiang had brought the knife back was because his premonition was always accurate. However, he didn't expect this guy to die. So what if he died? He had already done his best for him. The 200 people behind me are all elites that I've spent a lot of money to nurture. Wang Baiqiang had already made up his mind. Tonight, he would kill these 4 guys who had caused him such a huge loss. His uncle was coming back, and he had to give him an explanation. Whoever can take down these 4 people's heads, I'll reward him with $1 million. With a great reward, there would always be brave men. Before Wang Baiqiang could even finish his sentence, a group of hatchet-wielding hatchets rushed forward with a howl. It was as if in their eyes, these 4 people were not fierce fighters, but a pile of gold, silver, and jewels. However, the leader took a step back and gave up his position to the 3 people behind him. It was like a test. The 3 of them did not just stand there. They immediately turned around and ran. The four of them passed through the lobby and came to a corridor. At this point, the four of them finally stopped. Two men with flat-top haircuts stood in front. They tossed the metal bats aside and pulled out a Nepalese army knife from their waists. The other hand pulled out a triage bayonet. Guan Wenbao had taught them some knife techniques, and the two brothers, Lu Chang and Lu Zhuang, were the most serious about learning. Their usual hard work would not betray their master. The two of them used the narrow corridor as an entrance, waving the knives in their hands and chopping down the yellow uniform regiment fighters in front of them. The corridor was narrow. When it was inconvenient to swing their knives, the two of them would stab the people in front of them with their bayonets. Tonight would be the final battle. Facing so many fierce enemies, it was not the time to hold back. Whoever showed mercy would be the one to die. The two brothers, Lu Chang and Lu Zhuang, had good stamina. After fighting for a full 5 minutes, they were only sweating a little. They were still blocking the group of screaming yellow uniform regiment elites. Guan Wenbao taught them some breathing techniques and body hardening techniques, which allowed them to fight continuously and reduce their fatigue. However, there was always a limit to what they could do. The two of them had killed more than 40 thugs, but there were still more thugs behind them. Moreover, many of the thugs had begun to circle behind them, preparing to attack them from both sides. The devil's incarnation had been sitting on the ground behind him. He placed cans wrapped in yellow paper on the ground and then connected them to the fuses on them. Although he had a fiery temper, his technique was very meticulous. These were all earthen explosives that he had made himself. They were not particularly powerful, but they were not weak either. The devil's incarnation looked at the time and lit a cigarette. The door at the back of the corridor was kicked open. Dozens of thugs from the yellow uniform regiment roared as they charged in. Every one of them had ferocious, excited, and manic expressions on their faces. They seemed to want to tear these four people into pieces. There were so many thugs, and the corridor behind them was relatively wide. If they charged over, the four-man team would be instantly drowned. The devil incarnate took a puff of his cigarette and smiled at those who rushed over. Happy New Year. With that, he lit the fuse with his cigarette. The fuse burned very quickly. Almost in the blink of an eye, the fuse ignited all the earthen explosives. Boom! A series of explosions sounded, and the fireworks instantly engulfed those thugs. The strong explosion caused the hospital to tremble. However, the devil's incarnation had strictly calculated the amount of explosives so that it would not endanger the safety of the hospital. However, this was also done under Li Fan's forceful request. Otherwise, for the devil's incarnation, he would not care about the life and death of the people in this hospital. After the smoke signal passed, countless people were lying on the ground. Those who died were missing arms and legs. Those who survived were accompanied by moans. The devil's incarnation glanced at the tunnel that was blown up and said to Li Fan, "It's done. Okay, you guys go first." Li Fan waved his hand. The devil's incarnation and the two brothers, Lu Chang and Lu Zhuang, immediately left through the tunnel. Li Fan stood in front of the tunnel, guarding the entrance alone. The remaining thugs retracted their gaze from the corpses of their companions. There was only one person left. How could he block the remaining hundreds of people? These people have already squeezed in. Each of them wanted to stab Li Fan. Each of them wanted to kill him and get that damned 1 million yuan. Li Fan just stood there, watching these people rush in front of him. He was like a door god. Every time he punched and kicked, he would knock out the nearby thugs. He did not feel tired at all. No one could get within 1 meter of him. This is Li Fan's strength. No one can beat him. Wang Baiqiang, without anyone knowing, came over. Seeing that half of his elites were crippled, he flew into a rage. Are you fucking stupid? Throw the axes, throw him to death. With that, those thugs immediately threw the axes in their hands, trying to chop Li Fan to death. These axes flew towards Li Fan. But Li Fan waved his fists. Using only his brass knuckles, he deflected all the axes away. Every punch was as fast as lightning. Every punch was as heavy as lightning. Wang Baiqiang was dumbfounded. What is going on? What kind of person is this? He's just a mortal, but he can use his fists to block so many axes. Is this guy even human? Li Fan calculated the time. I can't play with you anymore. Yellow Clothes Regiment, your history is over. Over. My fucking Yellow Clothes Regiment will rule over a city. Wang Baiqiang roared. But at this moment, Wang Baiqiang heard the sound of a police siren. Help is here. Li Fan laughed and ran out of the tunnel. Outside the tunnel, it was still a corridor. The hospital was huge and the road was long. But with one slap, Li Fan shattered the wall in front of him. The corridor could not stop him. After a few rounds and smashing a few walls, he had already left the hospital. It was moonlight outside and the sound of police sirens could be heard. With such a big case, the city's hospital would not be peaceful that night. The Devil's Incarnation and the other two had already left in a car. Li Fan, on the other hand, was more convenient. With a few steps, he climbed up the hospital building and landed on the rooftop. With a leap, he somersaulted in the air and landed on the rooftop of a motel 50 meters away. Standing there, Li Fan observed the scene below. The riot police rushed into the hospital with loaded guns and subdued the thugs from the Yellow Clothes Regiment. Wang Baiqiang could only kneel on the ground with his hands raised. He was knocked to the ground by one of the riot police. Chapter 457. Wang Baiqiang could not explain himself this time. More than 30 people died in the city hospital, and more than 100 were injured. Moreover, the hospital was full of holes. This kind of case could not be covered up even if they wanted to. The matter was too big. There were too many casualties, and the local officials would be affected. An earth-shattering case swept through City A. The top 100 is too exaggerated this time. Sun Jiaoyang was wearing a Chinese tunic suit, sitting on the sofa in the villa. He had a pipe in his mouth and was holding today's newspaper in his hand. Sun Jiaoyang was born in the streets in his early years, but it was different now. After he had money and power, he slowly cleaned up his identity. Now, he was a major shareholder of a listed company, and several of his shareholders were important government officials. As long as he could make these shareholders pay, then he could exchange for a good career. Sun Jiaoyang was now a famous taxpayer in City A. He was an advanced entrepreneur and a regional representative. Soon, he could become a politician. All he needed was time and opportunity. He came back here to hand over the yellow uniform gang to Wang Baiqiang. Because from tomorrow onwards, Sun Jiaoyang would be completely cut off from the yellow uniform gang. But he could not abandon the yellow uniform gang. After all, it was a very convenient method for him. He only needed to control his nephew. This way, his identity would be clean and he could have his own influence in the underworld. The yellow uniform gang was the key. But he did not expect that once he came back, everything seemed to be different. The yellow uniform gang had lost control. No, it could no longer be described as losing control. The yellow uniform gang had been completely destroyed. Even the top 100 had been locked up in prison. No matter how capable he was, he could not help them. This time, he would have to sit in prison until he died. Who did it? Sun Jiaoyang asked as he read the newspaper. I don't know. The lackey with a broken leg sat in a wheelchair, his face was full of fear. Those 4 people. They are too powerful. We have more than 200 yellow-clothed assassins. We are not a match for the 4 of them at all. These 4 people know when to advance and when to retreat. They are quite organized. They must have come prepared. Sun Jiaoyang looked at the big case reported in the newspaper and said slowly, as long as we find out who wants to deal with us, we can naturally see the true faces of these 4 people. Mr. Sun, there are too many people who want to deal with us. Let's not talk about anything else. Even the Red Dragon Society and the Vanguard Army are against us. These 2 sects. Sooner or later, everyone will fight against each other. Sun Jiaoyang was indeed a person who did big things, and his mind was very clear. But they won't do this. In this way, everyone in City A will feel insecure, and the police will also increase the strength of punishment, which is not good for anyone. Moreover, even the top 100 had been implicated. This went against the principles of the 3 families. Although little girl Lu and young Ruining are more ambitious, they wouldn't dare to do that. Then I really don't know who it is. Did the Yellow Uniform Regiment make any more enemies recently? Sun Jiaoyang asked. There's no one else. The underling couldn't figure out who they had offended. The Yellow Uniform Group would have conflicts with other forces in many places. Recently, the nearer the better. Sun Jiaoyang's voice carried a kind of gentle power. Who has the Yellow Uniform Regiment had a conflict with? He had some conflicts with one of Miss Lu Xinnan's favorites. The underling said honestly, although the other party is only a high school student, he seems to be quite good at fighting. Miss Lu really admires him. A high school student. Sun Jiaoyang lightly tapped his pipe. Regarding this high school student, what conflict did the Yellow Uniform Regiment have with him? Our Yellow Uniform Regiment, it's your Yellow Uniform Regiment. Sun Jiaoyang reminded, don't call him by the wrong name next time. Yes, Mr. Sun, the underling quickly changed his words. The scalper that our Yellow Uniform Regiment had at the city hospital was beaten up by him. Also, the market in the old city was also taken by him. But other than us, Mr. Sam from America was also interested in him and asked us for some information about him. I understand. Sun Jiaoyang nodded. Find a time, I want to talk to this high school student. Ah. The underling was a little surprised. Who was Mr. Sun to lower himself to talk to a high school student? Go, help me arrange this. Yes, I understand. The underling nodded and went to do it on Mr. Sun's behalf. At the same time, Muronging finally arrived at Mount Wudong along the Luo horse trail. It was not yet the 15th, so it was still considered the new year. Even on this quiet Mount Wudong, there were red lanterns hanging everywhere. It was a festive atmosphere. Light snow was still falling on Mount Wudong. The white snow and the red lanterns reflected each other, adding a sense of mystery. Muronging followed the Wudong disciple along the small path at the back of the mountain, all the way to the main hall of Mount Wudong. The largest hall of Mount Wudong was the true martial hall, which was bustling with pilgrims. Naturally, Muronging would not go to the true martial hall. Instead, she followed the young Wudong disciple to a small courtyard. There was a huge stone chessboard in the courtyard. 2 people sat facing each other, seemingly playing a game. The red side was an old Taoist wearing a light white robe. He had a sage-like demeanor, as if he was an immortal descending to the mortal world. The old Taoist was sitting cross-legged, holding a horsetail whisk in one hand and pointing at the chessboard with the other, as if he was thinking about his next move. The black side was an old monk with a bald head and white eyebrows. This old monk had a pair of long eyebrows that hung down from the corners of his eyes to his shoulders. It could be said that his appearance was enviable. The 2 of them sat on opposite sides of the chessboard. With a wave of their palms, they used their internal energy to move the chess pieces to play. That stone chess piece was as big as a millstone. But in the hands of these two experts, it danced in the air and moved freely. The two of them exchanged blows, invisibly killing each other. They were not only competing in chess skills, but also in their internal energy. When Little Snow met the two of them, it fell to the side and did not touch him. The young disciple brought Muronging with him and was about to report the situation, but Muronging stopped him. There was no reason for her to disturb the two experts playing chess. This old Taoist was the sect leader of Mount Wudong, Taoist priest Wuji. And the one opposite him was the abbot of Shaolin Temple, Great Master Yusu. Both of them were venerables of the martial world, and their martial arts were also at the peak of perfection. But 5 years ago, both of them were defeated by Murongying's sword. But the two of them did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. Instead, they treated Murongying as an old friend. Checkmate. Great Master Yusu suddenly placed a chess piece, sealing off all of Wujizi's escape routes. This old monk wins this game. Great Master Yusu seemed to be a little proud of himself. Chapter 458. Wujizi laughed and straightened the crown on his head. Master Yusu, you're too photogenic. Amitba. A loss is a loss. Stop looking for excuses. These two were the supremes of the pugilistic world, but now they were talking like children. Muronging could not help but chuckle. She cupped her hands and said, "Both of you are so experienced in chess, but your minds are so young." "Ah, so it's Alliance Master Murong. Come in, come in." Wujizi was very happy to see Muronging. He waved his hand, and the snow on the stone block in front of him was immediately swept away. The stone block was immediately clean, without a speck of dust. Amitba. Alliance Master Murong, I'm sorry for the neglect. Master Yusu also put his palms together and bowed to Muronging. Both masters are too polite. Muronging sat on the stone block. The gold and silver swordsman stood behind her like a statue. They did not say a word, nor did they look at anyone else. Muronging looked at Wujizi again. Although Wujizi's complexion was not bad, there was a hint of darkness in the depths of his forehead. Moreover, there was a deep haze in his eyes that could not be swept away. Just as the young Wudong disciple had said, Wujizi's life was coming to an end. The reason he was still alive was probably because he was relying on his Dantian Qi to hang on to his life. I've let Alliance Master Murong see a joke. Wujizi smiled at Muronging. It's not that I can't bear to part with this body. It's just that the demonic sect is in power and is watching from the foot of the mountain. If I were to ascend to heaven, how would I be able to protect the entire Wudong mountain? Wujizi suddenly sighed. It's a pity that I couldn't catch a glimpse of the Grand Master realm in my lifetime. What a pity, you're too kind. Master Yusu returned the same words to Wujizi, causing Wujizi to chuckle. You old monk, you've become more mischievous as you get older. I don't know what kind of Buddhism you practice. Why are you regressing? Buddha is in the heart, not in appearance. Yusu replied with a chuckle, but I'm afraid neither of us will be able to glimpse the great Tao. On the other hand, Alliance Master Murong has already comprehended what it means to be a Grandmaster, right? I wouldn't dare to comprehend it. It's just the first glimpse. Muronging said modestly, compared to the two masters, I'm still far behind. Let's not flatter each other. Let's get down to business. Master Yusu put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. Now is not the time to worry about the two of us. It's time to consider the people at the foot of the mountain. When I came here, I already noticed that there are many experts at the foot of the mountain. They should all be from the devil cult. It's time to teach those little bastards of the devil cult a lesson. Although Wujizi had a calm personality, he could not help but be angry at the current situation, which concerned the survival of Wudong's sect. In particular, these people from the devil cult actually took advantage of the fact that he was about to immortalize and came to Mount Wudong to cause trouble. These people are doing this for the sake of the 9 Buddha Sutra. Master Yusu understood their purpose very well. It's just some experience left by our predecessors, but it has stirred up a bloody storm in the pugilistic world. Master Yusu is quite open-minded. Wu Jizi laughed. I would like to try the 9 Buddha Sutra, but the martial arts in it are too bold and unconstrained for me to control. If I learn it rashly, it will ruin my cultivation. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Wu Jizi sighed. Yusu nodded. If I cultivate it recklessly, it will breed inner demons. By the way, speaking of inner demons, I heard that benefactor Jiang Feng of Murong Villa has comprehended the unity of mind and demon. Congratulations. I'm sorry. Also, Alliance Master Murong's fiancé is said to have the talent to change bones. It's a miracle in the pugilistic world that 3 flowers have bloomed in Murong Villa. Maybe Murong Villa will break the current structure of the pugilistic world. Master Yusu said slowly, maybe we will usher in a new pugilistic world. Yusu and Wu Jizi looked at each other and saw regret in each other's eyes. It was a pity that they were old and could not see the new pugilistic world. I wish I could live for another 10 years. Unfortunately, the 3 pure ones are summoning me. Wu Jizi sat on a stone block, as if he had become one with Wudong Mountain. Looking at him, Muronging felt as if she was looking at an immortal. As for what the pugilistic world would be like in the future, even Muronging did not know. She knew the current pugilistic world. Shaolin and Wudong were the 2 major sects that controlled the pugilistic world. Then there were the North and South villas that controlled the economic lifeline of the pugilistic world. Then there were the 4 major alliances. None of the 4 alliance leaders were ordinary people. Each of them was full of ambition. With them around, no one knew when the pugilistic world would be thrown into chaos. Moreover, there was the devil cult that was ready to make trouble. After so many years, the fake peace in the pugilistic world was about to end. Just as the 3 of them were about to chat for a while, a disciple of Wudong rushed up the mountain and cupped his hands at them. Greetings, Alliance Leader Murong, Master Yusu. After saying that, he reported to his sect leader. Sect leader, the people of the devil cult have come up. They have already occupied the mountainside and are still advancing up the mountain. It seems that the devil cult can't hold back anymore. They probably know that my time is up. Wu Jizi looked down the mountain and said, let the pilgrims leave Wudong Mountain temporarily. I'm afraid it won't be peaceful for a period of time. Master Yusu, Alliance Leader Murong, I'm so incompetent that I actually had to invite the 2 of you here. Don't say that. The affairs of the pugilistic world are my affairs. Master Yusu was open-minded. I've long wanted to meet Li Wei. Master Wu Jizi has given me a chance today. Muronging instructed the gold and silver swordsman. The 2 of you stay by Master Wu Jizi's side, understand? Yes. Miss. The gold and silver swordsman nodded at the same time. Alliance Leader Murong, you don't have to do that. Wu Jizi seemed to want to refuse, but Muronging waved her hand and said, Master Wu Jizi, you don't have to refuse. Your life is the key to Wudong Mountain. If anything happens to you, I'm afraid the people of the devil cult will have their wish fulfilled. The most important thing now is to stabilize the devil cult. Alliance Leader Murong, you're right. I was too naive. Wu Jizi nodded and said, since I've already invited the 2 of you here today, I might as well ask the 2 of you to help me to the end. Oh, Yusu, I didn't mean it. You stinky Daoist. Forget it. In that case, let's invite the friends of the devil cult up. Everyone, please follow me to the true martial hall. Chapter 459. Li Wei. There was only one person with that name. Many years ago, he wasn't called that. 10 years ago, there was only one person named Li Qinghe in the pugilistic world. He was originally a monk in the Shaolin Temple, but he later left and joined the cult. At that time, the cult was not like it was now. There were more than 100 cults of various sizes in the pugilistic world. Every cult master was capricious and fought with each other for hundreds of years without making any progress. Until Li Qinghe appeared. He created the blood flame palm print and used this move to defeat all the experts of the devil cult. He unified the devil cult at that time and cultivated 108 devil cult elders, consolidating his rule. Some people said that Li Qinghe was the next Lu Jinchan. Back then, Lu Jinchan appeared and unified the World Alliance. Li Qinghe's appearance also unified the cult. The two of them were very similar in many ways. After Li Qinghe unified the cult, he felt that his name was too elegant. Hence, he changed his name to Li Wei to show that he was the only one in the world and that he was different from Lu Jinchan. At this moment, Li Wei was wearing a black suit and a red tie. He stood in the true martial hall and looked at the three martial arts experts in front of him. The three of you are indeed impressive. Li Wei said calmly, however, Daoist Wuzi, I'm afraid you won't be able to survive tonight. It's a pity. I heard that your yin-yang extreme hand shocked the martial arts world. I wanted to see it. I still have some strength. Why don't I spar with you, Leader Li? Wu Jizi chuckled and said, I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. There's no need to test your skills. Li Wei was expressionless when he said that. That's because your skills are weaker than mine. I'll be able to defeat you in less than 10 moves. Leader Li, you're really arrogant. Even though Wu Jizi had a good personality, he was infuriated by his words. I'm not arrogant, I'm just speaking the truth. Li Wei said calmly with his hands behind his back, among the three of you, Daoist Wuzi is already at his limit. It's already impressive that he can exchange 10 moves with me. As for Master Yusu, his internal energy is strong, so he can exchange 20 to 30 moves with me. As for Alliance Master Murong, I'll be able to decide who's stronger within 50 moves. How arrogant. Murong crossed her arms and ridiculed the cult leader of the evil cult in front of her. I don't know if your sect master was also promoted by your mouth. If it's possible, I do want to compete with Guild Master Murong. Before Li Wei could finish speaking, Murong suddenly appeared in front of him. At the same time, Murong stabbed Li Wei's glabella with 2 fingers. Murong pointed her sword. Murong made her move. Clang! Li Wei suddenly opened a black fan and used it to block his face from Murong's fingers. Clang! Murong's sword finger was actually blocked. Li Wei's true qi had already been cultivated to such a level. It was just a paper fan, but it was harder than steel. However, Murong wasn't surprised at all. Li Wei was the cult leader of the evil cult, and she knew what he was capable of. All of a sudden, a large amount of cherry blossom sword qi erupted from Murong's fingers and struck the black fan. Li Wei's fan was pushed away by the cherry blossom sword qi, but he continued to wave the fan to block the cherry blossom sword qi. Not bad, I've finally seen the legendary cherry blossom sword qi. Li Wei chuckled and continued, however, it's still lacking a little. He then pushed his right hand forward. Murong frowned and placed her palms in front of her. A gust of true qi rose up, and Murong's body was sent flying. She slid more than 3 meters away before she managed to stabilize her footing. Alliance Master Murong, your martial arts are indeed impressive, but I'm not here to spar with you today. Li Wei put away his black fan and said, I just have something to discuss with you. We have nothing to say to the evil cult. Wu Jizi said directly, "Do you want the 9 Buddha Sutra? I'm really sorry, but I won't give it to you even if I have to bury it with me. The 9 Buddha Sutra is something that I must obtain no matter what. Even if you're unwilling, it's not up to you. Since Leader Li has sworn not to get the 9 Buddha Sutra, why did you come to Wudong Mountain?" Master Yu Su asked with his palms pressed together. "It's very simple. I need the support of the 3 of you." Li Wei was very straightforward. "I want to become the Emperor of the martial arts world." "The Emperor of the martial arts world? Stop joking." A disciple of the Wudong sect yelled angrily, "The Emperor of the martial arts world has been abolished for decades." Li Wei waved his hand, and the disciple of the Wudong sect flew out and hit the pillar of the true martial hall. The pillar cracked, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Since when did you have the right to speak here? It's not your place to teach a disciple of the Wudong sect a lesson." Wu Jizi immediately leaped over and slapped Li Wei. The Yin-Yang Extreme Musician was the complete version of the Dragon Extreme Musician. The combination of Yin and Yang was the strongest. However, Li Wei did not react and simply stood there, facing Wu Jizi's palm. Bang! Wu Jizi's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. Master Yu Su stood behind and caught Wu Jizi's body with one hand. He spun him around in the air and removed the force from his body before putting him down and stabilizing his body. However, Li Wei did not move at all and stood firmly. Wu Jizi spat out a mouthful of blood and looked even more pale. "Daoist priest, why are you so anxious? I just taught him a little lesson. I didn't kill him." Li Wei raised his voice. When Lu Jinchan became the leader of the world, he abolished the rule of the Emperor of the martial arts world. However, from today onwards, I'm going to reinstate this rule. I'm naturally the most suitable person to be the Emperor. The Emperor of the martial arts world was the supreme ruler of the world. He was the true number 1 in the pugilistic world back then. Everyone in the pugilistic world had to submit to the Emperor. Once the Emperor of the martial arts world issued the Golden Jade token, the heroes in the world would not dare to disobey. It was only when Lu Jinchan became the leader of the World Alliance that the absurd rule of the Emperor of the martial arts world was abolished. Times had changed, and there was no need for an emperor in this era. "No one will obey you." Wu Jizi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and warned Li Wei. "You will only become a great enemy of the pugilistic world. I will become the emperor." Li Wei smiled confidently. "As long as the 3 of you support me, it will be fine." Chapter 460. Wishful Thinking. Muronging sneered. "Why should we support a devil like you?" "Because you have to," Li Wei said and clapped his hands gently. Behind him, a woman in a dark gray cloak slowly walked out and stood there. The woman's face was hidden under the cloak, and it was hard to see what she looked like. However, there was a dangerous aura emanating from her body. The gold and silver swordsmen, who were originally standing beside Wu Jizi, suddenly widened their eyes in unison, after which the gold and silver swords on their backs flew into the air and shot towards the woman. However, Li Wei stretched out his folding fan and blocked the gold and silver swords. Muronging had already understood something. She immediately pinched her nose and yelled, "Everyone, don't breathe." The gold and silver swordsmen were a pair of sharp weapons created by the Murong family. Not only did the 2 of them learn the long-lost Yin and Yang swords, but they also had a unique talent, which was to smell the poisonous fog in the air. The 2 of them must have sensed that there was poison when they suddenly attacked. That was why Muronging had made such a decisive decision and asked everyone to hold their breaths. Li Wei clapped his hands gently and said, "Alliance Master Murong, I didn't expect you to be able to tell. However, it's too late. He pointed at the woman in the cloak beside him and continued, "Let me introduce Song Fuya, the former clan master of the Medicine King Valley's Een Gate. She's now my left protector. Her poison is an improved cultivation dissipation powder. It's invisible and colorless, and it spreads through the air." Wujizi and Master Yusu simultaneously activated their internal energy, only to realize that their seas of energy were empty and they couldn't muster any strength at all. Muroning was unable to activate her cultivation either. Even though she reacted quickly, she still managed to absorb some of the improved cultivation dissolving powder in the blink of an eye. "If you don't get the antidote, none of you will be able to recover your skills." Li Wei looked at the three poisoned experts in front of him with his hands behind his back. "In order to get your support, I made this decision. However, I promise that I will not mistreat you in the future. Even if we die, we won't let you get what you want." Muroning gritted her teeth and glared at Li Wei fiercely. Alliance Master Murong looks really good when she's angry. Li Wei smiled and looked at Muronging. "I wonder how much kindness Alliance Master Murong's fiancé accumulated in his previous life. He actually has such a blessing in this life." Amitba, Master Yusu put his palms together and looked slightly regretful. "When I saw you back then, your eyes were pure and you didn't look like a pervert. Now, it seems like I misjudged him back then." "Master Yusu, your words are heartbreaking," Wang Xian said with a smile. Li Wei looked at the eminent monk in front of him and said, "I was indeed just an innocent little monk back then. Didn't I get to where I am today because of you guys? Buddha's words are not spoken. Every drink and every peck is predetermined. Master Yusu, why are you denying the sins you have committed in the past by cultivating the Dharma in vain?" Amitba, Master Yusu did not feel the slightest bit remorseful. "Since you have already entered Buddhism, you should break the mortal world. Besides, Sect Masterly, you have fallen in love with a disciple of a demonic cult. That's absolutely unacceptable. What a load of nonsense." Li Wei humphed coldly. "My name is Li Wei, and I will become the emperor of the martial arts world. My words are the rules of the martial arts world. My words are the laws of this world." Wishful thinking. Wu Jizi, who had been sitting cross-legged at the side, suddenly opened his eyes. He instantly turned into a ray of white light and appeared in front of Li Wei. Thunder attracting righteous path. Dharma convergence. Thunder and lightning suddenly appeared on Wu Jizi's hands, and he slapped Li Wei's temples forcefully. However, Li Wei's finger had already pierced into Wu Jizi's heart. Wu Jizi stood there with his hands in front of Li Wei. His fair skin had now become charred, as if he had been burned. "Ah! Me! Ta! Fo!" Master Yusu chanted loudly, and the disciples of the Wu-Tang clan in the hall also sat down cross-legged with their arms crossed, as if they were sending off Daoist Wuzi, who had already ascended to immortality. Li Wei took 2 steps back and looked at Daoist Ujizi, who was still standing there like a statue. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Daoist Wuzi is indeed formidable. He actually forcefully activated his true qi and caused it to rub violently in his body, forming the power of thunder and lightning. Unfortunately, this move can only be used once, and he was burnt by the electricity first. Wu Jizi used his last bit of vitality at the last moment to turn his true qi into thunder and lightning, but he also lost his life. He initially wanted to kill Li Wei in one move, but he didn't expect Li Wei to be 1 step ahead of him. "Li Wei, do you dare to fight me?" Muronging was dressed in a white jade-colored cheongsam, and her legs were extremely eye-catching. She stared at Li Wei in front of her and pulled out her sword. "Do you dare to fight me?" "Of course I dare, but now is not the time." Li Wei said arrogantly, "After all, I don't want to kill you." "Coward!" Muronging sneered. Li Wei was surrounded by the black and white impermanents, who were also his protectors. At this moment, Murong Ying's words made the white impermanents unable to sit still anymore. He immediately pounced forward and grabbed Murong Ying's throat with his left hand using the soul-stealing claw. The soul-stealing claw was a chokehold. Murong Ying did not have any true qi, but she simply raised her sword. Before the white impermanence's claws could touch her throat, the tip of her sword had already pierced her opponent's chest. If the white impermanence had exerted a little more force, the sword would have pierced his heart. Murong Ying was able to force the white impermanence to retreat with just a move. Impossible, how can you break through my true qi protection? The white impermanence took 2 steps back in shock. This sword has been with me for 10 years. Murong Ying held on to her long sword. Its blade has long been filled with murderous intent. It doesn't care about that little protective jinqi of yours. Damn it, I'm going to kill you. The white impermanence did not expect to lose to someone who did not have true qi. He was the protector of the black and white impermanence. Wouldn't that be too embarrassing? How would the brothers view him? How would the sect master look down on him? He couldn't take it anymore. The white impermanence stretched out his hands, and a black ray of light appeared on his palms. The soul-stealing claw was the white impermanence's famous technique. He wanted to use his famous technique to prove himself. Stop! Li Wei hollered and pressed his black fan against the white impermanence's shoulder. Stand down. Yes, sect master. The white impermanence did not dare to resist at all and immediately retreated to the side obediently. Chapter 461. Alliance Master Murong, I still have a use for you. After saying that, Li Wei went down the mountain. All the disciples of the Wu-Tang Mountain were locked up, and those who disobeyed would be killed on the spot. This was the most powerful sect in the martial arts world, but it had changed overnight. The sect leader, Wu Jizi, had ascended to immortality, and the rest of the people were all imprisoned. Only 1 or 2 of them took advantage of the chaos to escape. Li Wei returned to his own sect and left the 2 guardians behind to manage the Wu-Tang Mountain for him. Murong Ying and Master Yu Su were also locked up there, waiting for them to surrender. At this moment, Li Fan still had no idea that his fiancée was in prison. He stood at the school gate and looked at a Cadillac Escalade parked in front of him. Mr. Li, our boss would like to see you. A bodyguard in a black suit stood there and spoke to Li Fan politely. Your boss? Do I know him? Li Fan crossed his arms and looked at the guy who had popped out of nowhere. Lin Yuhsin followed beside Li Fan and gently tugged at Li Fan's arm with a slightly fearful expression. Don't interact with such people. Although she was already following Li Fan to manage his security company, Lin Yuhsin still couldn't help but feel a little afraid when faced with such things. It's okay, you can go back first. Li Fan gently hugged Lin Yuhsin's shoulder lest she worried. Qingchen, send Miss Lin off. Yes, big brother. An ordinary-looking man in his 30s nodded. His name was Sun Qingchen, and he was the driver that Ling Tian had chosen for Li Fan. Initially, Li Fan rejected it, but Ling Tian was right. He was no longer an ordinary high school student, and he had some status in City A. He had to be ostentatious when he went out. But being too high-profile was indeed not suitable for him. Therefore, Sun Qingchen drove a very ordinary black Audi A4, which was obviously different from the luxury version of the Escalade in front of him. Miss Lin, please. Sun Qingchen usually did not speak much and only followed some simple instructions. He opened the car door for Lin Yuhsin. Before she got into the car, Lin Yuhsin cast a concerned look at Li Fan. Don't worry, they won't dare to do anything in broad daylight. Li Fan watched as Lin Yuhsin got into the Audi and was relieved. Mr. Lee, please. The bodyguard also opened the door of the car for Li Fan. A middle-aged man was already sitting inside. He was wearing a Chinese tunic suit and had a pipe in his mouth. He was flipping through today's newspaper. How disappointing, I thought it would be a beauty. Li Fan sighed while the man sitting behind smiled. Now, with Brother Li's status, will it be difficult to find a few beauties? Who am I? I'm just a high school student. Li Fan stood there with a smile on his face. At this moment, a woman's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Sun Jiaoyang, the boss behind the Yellow Clothes Syndicate. He's very shrewd. Li Fan looked back and there was no one around. But why did he hear Yushi's voice? Was this girl nearby? Brotherly, my chair doesn't have any spikes. Sun Jiaoyang said again. Li Fan took off his school bag and sat in the car. Mr. Sun, you're a legendary big shot. Isn't it a little inappropriate for you to pick up a small fry like me at the school gate? Brotherly is not a small fry. Recently, you've shaken the world and are in the limelight in City A. The car was already moving slowly. Sun Jiaoyang said casually, nowadays, everyone in City A knows your name, Brotherly, Mr. Sun, you flatter me. Li Fan shrugged. I'm just an ordinary high school student, not like what Mr. Sun said. An ordinary high school student can't handle my Yellow Clothes Syndicate. Li Fan replied naturally, I'm sorry, I've requisitioned a piece of the Yellow Clothes Syndicate's territory in the old city. If Mr. Sun is unhappy, I'll visit you for a drink and apologize another day. Li Fan's words may seem shameless but his answer was flawless. Sun Jiaoyang was not in a hurry as he slowly closed the newspaper. Then let's change the topic. How about talking about Sam? I'm sure you're very interested in him. Sam. Who's that? Li Fan continued to play dumb, while Sun Jiaoyang tapped his pipe in the ashtray and continued, Brotherly, it's boring like this. Let's not beat around the bush. Being honest will deepen each other's feelings. I'm the most honest person. Li Fan immediately clapped his hands and said, in the past, when I picked up 10 yuan on the road, would give it to the teacher. It's rare to see an honest student like me. Brotherly, you're still young. Sun Jiaoyang continued, in this line of work, there's a principle. There are no eternal enemies or eternal friends, only eternal interests. He looked at Li Fan as if he wanted to persuade him. I'm only telling you this because I think you and I hit it off. After all, in City A, I still have some power. Brother, you're still young, don't ruin your own future. I don't want to go to the cemetery to visit you at this time next year. Thank you, Mr. Sun, for thinking so highly of me. Li Fan cupped his hands. However, I'm not a lucky person. I can't withstand Mr. Sun's love. Brotherly, do you mean that you're going to confront the Yellow Suit Syndicate to the end? You're really wronging me. I have no enmity with the Yellow Suit Syndicate. We're all friends. Why would we confront each other? Li Fan laughed. Moreover, I'm just a high school student. I usually have to focus on my studies. I'm just a student. Are you afraid of me, Mr. Sun? Alright, I've said what I need to say. Since Brotherly is so determined, I won't force it. Sun Jiaoyang said as he gently knocked on the car window. The SUV stopped by the side of the road. The bodyguard got out of the car and opened the door for Li Fan. Brotherly, please. Then I'll take my leave, Mr. Sunday. Li Fan cupped his hands at Sun Jiaoyang. We'll never meet again. Oh right, I have something to tell Mr. Sunday. Mr. Sun has a big business and your life is precious. So, please don't make life difficult for people like us who don't have money. If we die, no one will feel sorry for us. But if anything happens to Mr. Sun, it'll be terrible. Can I take this as a threat? Sun Jiaoyang smiled at Li Fan. That depends on Mr. Sunday. Li Fan's answer was flawless. I hope Mr. Sun's career will be successful and smooth sailing. After the car started moving again, Sun Jiaoyang's face turned cold as he ordered his bodyguard. Tonight at 12 o'clock, I want extraordinary security to disappear. Chapter 462. Lin Yuhsin, you go home first. Li Fan sat in the office of the small building and said to Lin Yuhsin, who was doing the accounts. Why? Lin Yuhsin was a little surprised. It wasn't time to get off work yet. She was still very serious and responsible when it came to work. Lin Yuhsin felt that Li Fan had walked into another different world. And the only bridge between him and her was the security company. Lin Yuhsin was a little worried. Her boyfriend's internship period hadn't ended yet, but Li Fan seemed to be getting further and further away from her. It might not be peaceful tonight. Li Fan looked out of the window. A silver van was parked there. It had been a few hours, and there was no movement from the people inside. He and Sun Jiaoyang from the Yellow Clothes group had completely fallen out. Sun Jiaoyang's high and mighty attitude made Li Fan very uncomfortable. And Sun Jiaoyang shouldn't be a good person. Tonight, he would probably bring people to destroy his security company. It seemed that a decisive battle was coming. I don't care. I will stay here tonight. When Lin Yuhsin was willful, there was nothing she could do. The little lass ignored Li Fan. She lowered her head and continued to look at the accounts. No matter what Li Fan said, she ignored him. Qingchen, you are responsible for protecting Miss Lin. Li Fan was also at his wit's end. He let Sun Qingchen protect Lin Yuhsin. This seemingly ordinary driver wasn't one of the hooligans who joined the security company at the beginning, but an expert brought by Ling Tian. According to Ling Tian, Sun Qingchen's strength wasn't weak. He had saved his life before, so now he was determined to follow Ling Tian. And when Ling Tian joined his small group, Sun Qingchen also became his bodyguard. Got it, boss. Sun Qingchen nodded and stood beside Lin Yuhsin. Comrade Xiao Lin, don't leave Qingchen tonight, okay? What about you? Can't you protect me? Lin Yuhsin finally raised her head and looked at Li Fan. I can't split myself, Accountant Lin. Li Fan shrugged. I'm afraid there will be a fierce battle tonight. Our brothers are ready. Huang Lei was distributing weapons to a few security guards. Because they weren't a criminal company, Fifan Express didn't have any powerful firearms. What Huang Lei distributed were electric batons. These stun batons were all high-quality goods bought at a high price. Each of them was camouflaged and half a meter long. Apart from being able to illuminate, the metal parts on top could also emit high-voltage electricity, instantly knocking out the enemy. The control of knives in the country was relatively strict. Even these stun batons were approved by Li Fan through some connections. Li Fan didn't let everyone stay. He only left a few with slightly better skills, about a dozen of them. At this time, there wasn't a need to leave too many people. If he let those who weren't skilled stay, they would just be throwing their lives away. Don't forget the bulletproof vest. Li Fan reminded. For the safety of his men, Li Fan would never be stingy with his spending. Don't worry, big brother. It has already been distributed. Huang Lei patted the bulletproof vest on him. You don't even fight. Why are you wearing it? Lin Yuhsin couldn't help but ask. I don't know how to fight, but I know how to join in the fun. Huang Lei waved the baseball bat in his hand. All along, everyone said that I'm a big mouth. Today is the time for me, Emperor Huang Lei, to show off my elegance. How are you like an emperor? Lin Yuhsin pouted. Huang Lei was just about to point at his crotch when he remembered that she was his big brother's woman. He swallowed his words. Ignore him. When the fight starts, he'll find a place to hide. Ling Tian arranged some tools and pulled out a Glock 17 pistol from his trousers. He checked the bullets in it. Looking at the group of people around him staring at each other, Ling Tian asked seriously. "Aw. Didn't I say? I'm a Hong Kong citizen and I have a gun license." "Your gun license? Can it be used in the mainland?" "Of course it can be used if I have connections." Ling Tian continued to check his gun. "As long as it's for self-defense, I can use it." Li Fan was speechless. This Ling Tian was too capable. He shocked him time and time again. "It's about time. I think the show is about to start." Li Fan clapped his hands. "Everyone get ready. We're going to receive the guests from the yellow uniform group." As he spoke, Li Fan stood on the windowsill and looked at the scenery outside. A voice entered Li Fan's ears. "An expert is here." It was Yushi talking to him again. Where was this girl hiding? As he did not know Yushi's location, Li Fan could not transmit his voice to her. "I'll help you stop that expert." Yushi's voice came again. "I'll leave the rest to you. Then I'll have to trouble you." Li Fan did not know if Yushi could hear him. After thanking her, he began to order the others to prepare for the enemy. While Li Fan was preparing, there was movement on the other side. Sharkanov was a mercenary. To be precise, he was once a secret agent of the KGB. However, due to personal reasons, he was removed from the KGB and was even exiled to the Middle East, banned from returning. Thus, he chose to become a notorious mercenary. At least this way, he would not have to worry about food or clothing. No matter how dirty the mission was, as long as the price was right, Sharkanov would carry it out. It was the same this time. With Sun Jiaoyang's help, Sharkanov sneaked into the Chinese border. Sharkanov was skilled, but he was very cautious. He checked his silenced pistol. Everything was fine. He just needed to complete the mission and get the money. His goal was to take down a Chinese organization. These Chinese monkeys were his bounty. Sharkanov looked at the time. It was about time. He put on his tactical glasses, kicked open the warehouse door and rushed in. There were a few gunmen standing in the warehouse. They looked at him and shouted something at him. Sharkanov's forte was his marksmanship. He immediately raised his gun and shot the gunman to the ground. In the end, there was a Chinese gunman left. He looked at him in fear and kept shouting. He was probably begging him. There were always people like him. People who were afraid of death were really cowards. Without hesitation, Sharkanov raised his gun and shot through the man's head. What a sad man. He hoped that he could go and see their Buddha. Sharkanov drew a cross in front of him and passed through the warehouse to the agreed place. After he completed the mission, the employer should be waiting for him here. Chapter 463. Sun Jiaoyang stood in a very secluded office. He looked at the time. It's about time, he should be here. Just as his voice fell, the door was pushed open. Sharkanov walked in with strong steps. Sun Jiaoyang couldn't help but want to praise, this Russian mercenary is really sturdy. Looking at his muscles, that small arm is almost as thick as my leg. Sure enough, on time. Sun Jiaoyang praised, Sharkanov, for this operation, I arranged a few teammates for you, you should have seen them when you came in. Sun Jiaoyang spoke pure Russian. He used to travel between China and Russia all year round, so naturally he has a good grasp of Russian. Sharkanov was stunned for a moment. He did not speak for a long time. Mr. Sun, bad news. The people outside have all been killed. A lackey stumbled in and reported to Sun Jiaoyang. What? Sun Jiaoyang immediately frowned. Could it be that Li Fan has already made his move? No matter what. Mr. Sun is in danger, it's better to leave from the back door. Got it. Sun Jiaoyang also treasured his life very much. Before he left, he tiptoed and patted Shakanov's sturdy shoulder. I'll leave the rest to you, you follow him, he will naturally tell you what to do. Sun Jiaoyang pointed at his subordinate, he also knows some Russian. Okay. Shakanov secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He followed the subordinate, went out, got on a Santana, and drove to the old city. After Sun Jiaoyang left, he also sat in a black Mercedes-Benz. The driver is a subordinate who has been with him for a long time, that subordinate is his confidant. Shakanov alone is not enough to deal with an expert like Li Fan. Sun Jiaoyang took out his pipe and filled it with expensive shredded tobacco, so, that woman called Qin Meng will help me solve everything. Night fell, the moon hung high. A woman wearing a black dress, holding an umbrella in her hand, was walking on the roof. Her steps were light, like a cat's. It snowed all year round in a city, and today is the same, the sky is fluttering with light snow. A black wildcat ran past, its body as fast as the wind. The woman frowned slightly. Then, she pulled out a sword from her umbrella and stabbed forward. The wildcat didn't even have time to scream before 10 bloody holes appeared on its body. It then fell into a pile of snow, its blood mixing with the white snow. What a powerful slice snow sword. A woman wearing the vest of the Imperial Secret Service was standing on top of a telephone pole. She was half squatting there, and there was a black knife at her waist. The dignified Qin Meng is not by Li Wei's side. She actually came to such a small city. What a rare guest. Isn't Heartless Saber doing the same thing? Qin Meng raised her head and looked at Yu Shi, who was on the telephone pole. It seems that this small city is quite popular. Stupid. Yu Shi reminded Qin Meng, don't you know who you are facing? Little tyrant Li Fan, his price is naturally higher. Qin Meng smiled, but if you are included, it will be even more expensive. Today, I will repay the enmity of a single glance. Yu Shi gently touched his eye patch with his left hand. It's a pity that you still have one eye. Qin Meng looked at Yu Shi's other eye and said, your eye is so beautiful, it seems to be even more beautiful than mine. To be honest, I'm a little jealous. Qin Meng was a famous assassin in the pugilistic world, and her nickname was Throat Slash. Her purpose of coming here today was to take Li Fan's life. Qin Meng raised his umbrella to block the falling snowflakes. If you don't mind, can you leave your other eye behind too? Come and take it if you can. Yu Shi touched the black knife and said, the blackguard, Heartless Saber, is here to punish you. Before Yu Shi could finish speaking, Qin Meng's body seemed to have traveled through space and appeared in front of Yu Shi in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the sword in her hand went straight for Yu Shi's black crystal-like eye. However, Yu Shi was not slow either. He immediately raised his knife and the black knife went straight for Qin Meng's cheek. The two of them attacked with almost fatal moves. Clang! The two of them took a step back at the same time, and the two weapons collided, producing sparks. Others could not see it at all, but in that instant, the two of them had already exchanged more than 10 moves. Pooh! A bloody mark appeared on Yu Shi's neck, and the front of Qin Meng's shirt was also cut open, revealing the black bra inside. So you like this kind of thing? Qin Meng laughed, why didn't you say so earlier? I don't mind showing you more. I'm not interested in flat breasts. I'm a C cup. It'll be gone soon. Yushi raised his knife and a black light suddenly appeared in the air. It was as if even the moon was missing a corner. Even Qin Meng could not help but frown at such a knife technique. Qin Meng's body instantly appeared on a roof in the distance, and a treasured sword returned to the umbrella. Your knife technique has indeed improved. However, it's still a little worse than mine. As Qin Meng spoke, a bloody mark appeared on Yushi's lower abdomen. Just now, Qin Meng's sword had brushed past Yushi's lower abdomen. In the end, the heartless saber is still not comparable to my snow sword. Qin Meng revealed a smile towards Yushi. Next time, the sword will pierce your eyes. A sword appeared in Yushi's eyes. This Qin Meng had used her ultimate skill, and Yushi was actually unable to dodge it. I'll take this eye. Only Qin Meng's voice remained in her ears. But at this moment, 2 fingers extended out from the side, and with a clang, the sword was deflected. What? Qin Meng cried out in surprise as she looked at her rapier in disbelief. Yushi, you're too careless. Li Fan wore a gray down jacket as he stood beside Yushi and extended 2 fingers. He gently hugged Yushi's waist with one hand and whispered into her ear, "Fortunately, I came over to take a look. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to keep your beautiful eyes. Why are you here?" Yushi looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. "Since you're here, what about over there?" "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." Li Fan looked at Qin Meng, who was holding an umbrella in front of him. "Is this the expert that you invited? Your taste in underwear is not bad." "Is that so?" "As long as you like it." Qin Meng held the umbrella as she stared at Li Fan in front of her. She seemed to be sizing him up, wondering how he was different from ordinary high school students. She's a famous assassin in the pugilistic world, nicknamed One Sword to the Throat. Yushi introduced to Li Fan, "You must be careful of her sword, it's very fast." Chapter 464. Indeed. Qin Meng's smile was like a flower. "By the time you see my sword, you will already be dead." Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and suddenly pinched. Qin Meng just happened to appear in front of him, and the rapier in her hand was easily pinched by Li Fan's 2 fingers. Great sage plucking the stars. Li Fan easily pinched Qin Meng's rapier, causing Qin Meng to be shocked. Her snow sword was the fastest rapier in the world. Even heartless blade Yushi could not keep up with her sword techniques. And this rising star of the pugilistic world in front of her, how did he manage to catch her rapier? Was it luck? Qin Meng shook her sword energy and flicked away Li Fan's fingers, then instantly thrust it out 10 times. Li Fan placed 2 fingers in front of him and continuously flicked away Qin Meng's rapier. No matter how hard Qin Meng tried, her opponent's rapier was unable to harm her at all. Impossible. Qin Meng did not dare to believe her eyes. Li Fan actually blocked all of her sword techniques. Other than the sect leader, there was actually someone else who could do it. How would she know that Li Fan possessed a pair of eyes, which was the nemesis of her rapier? "Have you played enough?" Li Fan held on to Qin Meng's rapier with one hand and said at the same time, "If you've played enough, it's time for me to make my move." Li Fan's Ape King cannon directly smashed onto Qin Meng's lower abdomen. Bang! Qin Meng's body immediately turned into a cannonball and flew out, crashing into the wall behind her and creating a crater in the wall. The might of Li Fan's Ape King cannon was not light. After taking this move, even Qin Meng could not help but vomit a mouthful of blood. One slash to the throat. Li Fan pointed at his throat. "Then why don't you give it a try? A mere little overlord is too arrogant." As Qin Meng spoke, she pulled herself out of the crater with killing intent in her eyes. "I'll take your life." As she spoke, Qin Meng had already appeared in front of Li Fan. The rapier in her hand almost brushed past Li Fan's cheek, stabbing empty air. Li Fan looked at the sharp rapier and stretched out 3 fingers. I'll defeat you within 3 moves. Dream on. Qin Meng's sword slashed out 10 afterimages, but Li Fan had already appeared on her right side, easily dodging Qin Meng's attack. At the same time, Li Fan sent a palm strike towards Qin Meng, but it was blocked by her own umbrella. This umbrella was made of alloy and was very sturdy. Qin Meng usually did not use it. When she used it, it was only when her life was at stake. She could often use it to turn the situation around. However, when Li Fan's palm landed on the umbrella, a palm print appeared on the umbrella. The huge force caused the umbrella to fly out of Qin Meng's hand. Pooh! Li Fan's tiger claw grabbed onto Qin Meng's neck, and his fingers gently sank into Qin Meng's flesh. As long as Li Fan used a little more strength, Qin Meng's throat would be crushed by him. Next time, if you want to kill me, send a stronger assassin. You don't live up to your name. As he spoke, Li Fan pushed with his hand, throwing Qin Meng's body out. Qin Meng landed on the snowy ground, half squatting there with an ugly expression on her face. Your life will be mine sooner or later. She knew that she would not be able to take down Li Fan today, so she simply picked up the umbrella that was sent flying and used it to slide away. Her movement technique is not bad. Li Fan wiped off the blood on his hand. The next time you meet her, remember to dodge the moment her wrist moves. You will be easily tricked by her fake movements. Yushi was somewhat unconvinced. Also, aren't you afraid that something will happen to the company by coming to find me? Is it because of that little girl from Huashan? Little senior sister Xia Yi. Li Fan laughed. It's not peaceful these 2 days, so I let little senior sister stay in the hotel first. How can I let little senior sister participate in such a messy matter? You're very considerate of her. When Yushi said this, she was slightly jealous. After all, little senior sister came from a place without any disputes. Li Fan hurriedly explained, her heart is still very weak. Huashan has just experienced a huge dispute. Yushi stared at Li Fan. Not only Huashan, you should also go to Wudong Mountain to take a look. Wudong Mountain. What happened to Wudong Mountain? This is the reason why I came to find you. Yushi said, your fiancé is already trapped in Wudong Mountain. The devil cult has occupied that place. What? Li Fan didn't quite believe it. What kind of strength did Muronging have? In the current martial arts world, how many people could be her opponent? She was trapped in Wudong Mountain by the devil cult. That's not possible, right? In short, she fell into the devil cult's trap. The higher-ups have informed me to rescue her. I think you might be willing to go with me. Yushi glanced at Li Fan, but I think it's better for you to deal with the matters in your hands. No need, let's go now. Li Fan looked confident. My brothers are in the company. There won't be any problems. The yellow uniform group has made a big move. Can they be relied on? I trust them. Li Fan nodded. We've done bigger things than that. If we don't even trust each other, how can we do big things together? Before coming out, Ling Tian had guaranteed to Li Fan that there would be no problems with the company. Since you're so confident, then let's go now. Yushi trusted Li Fan. Are we going to use Qinggong or take a car? Li Fan asked. Neither. Yushi pointed to the tall building in the distance. The helicopter is already waiting for us. Fuck, she's a tycoon. Li Fan gave up and followed Yushi into the helicopter. At that moment, the yellow uniform group had already begun to attack the small earthen building under Shakanov's leadership. However, the courtyard of the earthen building had been repaired and was now 4 meters high, covered in glass shards. To be able to come down from above, half of them would be crippled. Even for Sun Jiaoyang, it was not convenient for him to make a big deal out of it. The last time, the yellow uniform group had already gone overboard and caused too much of an impact in the city. Therefore, this time, Sun Jiaoyang needed to kill them in one shot. He did not send too many people, only 20 gunmen. These 20 gunmen each had a 54 black star that was bought at a high price in the black market. Tonight was the 15th day of the first lunar month. Every household would set off firecrackers. The sound of firecrackers could cover up the gunshots. Shakhanov led the 20 gunmen and sneaked to the back door of the earthen building. The back door was only 2 meters high. This was the only way to sneak into the earthen building. Shakhanov waved his hand at the 2-meter-tall iron gate. 2 gunmen immediately came under the door and stretched out their hands. As for the other 2 gunmen, they stepped on their arms and pushed them to the top of the door. Chapter 465. These gunmen were well trained. 2 of them were lifted up and easily crossed the 2-meter distance to land on the other side of the door. Shakhanov nodded and ordered the 2 gunmen behind him to jump over to the other side. After sending the 6 gunmen over, Shakhanov suddenly felt that something was wrong. Too quiet, it was indeed too quiet. Those who went over, reply quickly. Shakhanov winked at the man who spoke Russian. The man was smart enough to understand and immediately asked through the walkie-talkie. But no one answered. The man asked again, but there was still silence. Shakhanov felt that something was wrong. He immediately pointed at the door. The gunman immediately retreated a distance away. Shakhanov aimed at the door and pulled the trigger, firing a few shots. Dang dang dang. The door lock was broken, and Shakhanov kicked the door open. The moment the door was opened, it was as if a woman had opened her legs. Shakhanov had decided to raise this place to the ground and collect his employer's bounty. But the 6 gunmen seemed to have evaporated into thin air, disappearing without a trace. But there was a man standing there, holding 2 huge Gatling guns in his hands. What the hell? Shakhanov nearly peed his pants. Is this a fucking joke? The man in front of him was none other than the Devil's incarnate. He smiled at Shakhanov. Shakhanov hurriedly shouted, "Don't worry. Run." Although it was Russian, the other gunmen understood what he was saying. The gunmen were so scared that they turned around and wanted to run. But suddenly, more than 10 men holding camouflage stun batons appeared behind them. They acted instantly and cleanly. The stun batons hit the gunmen. Everything had happened too quickly. The gunmen did not even have time to react. All of them were electrocuted and fell to the ground, twitching and foaming at the mouth. In an instant, they had lost the ability to fight. Only Shakhanov was still standing there. A security guard hit him with the stun baton. But with his strong body, he was able to stand there. Ah! He roared and kicked the security guard in front of him to the ground. His body was too strong. Shakhanov raised his gun and fired at the 3 security guards. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 security guards were immediately sent flying. Fortunately, the security guards were wearing bulletproof vests. Otherwise, they would have died there. Even so, the ribs of these 3 people were broken. They lay on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. But at this moment, a chain wrapped around Shakhanov's neck and dragged his burly body to the ground. Bang! Shakhanov's body smashed into the ground, creating a cloud of dust. The Devil's incarnation's hands tightly gripped the chains, entangling Shakhanov so that he couldn't break free. But Shakhanov's body was too strong. He sat up from the ground bit by bit and was about to lift the Devil's incarnation's body into the air. Lu Chang and Lu Zhuang dashed over with military bayonets in their hands. They stabbed Shakhanov's shoulder several times in a row. Shakhanov roared again and again, but he did not fall. Damn you, you've become a little King Kong. The devil's incarnation was enraged. If not for Li Fan's order not to kill these people, but to knock them out and throw them at the entrance of the Yellow Uniform Regiment's base camp, he would have stabbed Shakhanov's heart long ago. Get out of here! Shakhanov roared in Russian. Then, he grabbed Lu Chang and Lu Zhuang's bodies with both hands and threw them away as if they were little chicks. Bang, bang. Their bodies landed a distance away, and it was not a light fall. Shakhanov grabbed the devil's incarnation's shoulder and pulled him over. He threw him in front of him and stepped on his foot. At the same time, he pulled out his backup pistol and aimed it at the devil's incarnation's head. Lu Chang and Lu Zhuang threw out the military bayonets in their hands. One of the bayonets knocked Shakhanov's pistol away, and the other stabbed into his hand. Ah! Shakhanov pulled out the stiletto by force and threw it backhanded. Lu Chang instinctively raised his arm to block his face. The bayonet pierced through Lu Chang's arm and forced him to take 2 steps back. This idiot is too stubborn. The devil's incarnation yelled, "This won't do. Let's go all out." Before he could finish his sentence, Shakhanov had already lifted him up, and his hands were on the devil's incarnation's neck. The devil's incarnation immediately felt suffocated, and his eyes rolled back. At this moment, Huang Lei appeared out of nowhere. He held the baseball bat in his hand and swung it at Shakhanov's head. The baseball bat was dented, and there was a wound on Shakhanov's head that was bleeding profusely. But he roared and kicked Huang Lei to the ground. The devil's incarnation was also thrown to the side, and he fell heavily. What the fuck? Is this guy cheating? Huang Lei spat out a mouthful of bile. It was painful. Fuck. This daddy is going to cheat too. The devil's incarnation took out a chainsaw out of nowhere, held it in his hand, and turned the motor. The chainsaw immediately started to operate, and the sawtooth quickly rotated, cutting everything in its path into pieces. No! Lu Chang immediately said, "Boss ordered, don't kill him. Fuck his father, he's already in this state, and he still doesn't let me kill him." The devil's incarnation was about to go crazy, but Shakhanov picked up a stick and walked toward him. But at this moment, a beautiful figure suddenly fell into the courtyard. She jumped up, her body was almost suspended in the air, and then she kicked Shakhanov's head 3 times in a row. Bang, bang, bang. This Shakhanov directly fainted from the kick. His huge body fell to the ground, unable to stand up for a long time. Yin Xiaoruk stepped on Shakhanov's head and looked at the 4 stunned men. "What are you guys doing?" Yin Xiaoruk curiously looked at them, not knowing what they were doing. "Fuck me. Who is this girl?" The devil's incarnation had never seen Yin Xiaoruk before, this was the first time. "Fuck, little ancestor, you're finally here." Huang Lei directly knelt down in front of Yin Xiaoruk. "If you came a little later, we'd be dead for sure." "Who is this blockhead?" Yin Xiaoruk looked at the Russian mercenary under her feet, still somewhat puzzled. "I'll explain to you later." Ling Tian held his pistol and walked out, ordering everyone to clean up the battlefield. "It seems like we won this battle. Why did they start fighting? Where's Li Fan?" Yin Xiaoruk asked. "The boss. He just left a message saying that he went to Wudong Mountain." Chapter 466. He went to Wudong Mountain. Yin Xiaoruk rolled her eyes. "It's such a fun thing, yet he didn't call me along." Yin Xiaoruk seemed rather displeased. "No, I have to chase after him," Yin Xiaoruk said and used her qinggong to move around like the wind, instantly disappearing in front of the devil incarnate and the rest. This woman, Huang Lei and the rest wiped their sweat and wondered if Big Brother would have a headache, at this moment, Li Fan had already flown to the foot of Wudang Mountain. Because the mountain was guarded by the disciples of the devil sect, he landed on the top of the mountain without being too conspicuous. It doesn't look any different. Li Fan looked at the towering Wudang Mountain and couldn't help but mutter. The 15th day of the first lunar month had already passed, and the sky was beginning to turn bright. The two of them did not sleep for almost the entire night, but because they were both martial artists, they were still very energetic. How could Li Fan fall asleep when his fiancée was locked up in such a place? The Wudang Hall is now like a prison. Yushi placed her hand on her black sword and stared at the halls on the mountain. Fortunately, Li Wei is not here. Li Wei, the leader of solipsism. Yes, he's a ruthless one. Yushi continued, besides, according to our spies in Wudang Mountain, Song Fuya from the Medicine King Valley is here too. I know about the Medicine King Valley and I've dealt with an elder of the Yin clan before. However, who is Song Fuya? She's the former leader of the Yin clan. Yushi's grasp of the information of the martial artists was almost as good as a database. She used an invisible and colorless poison, which seems to be a modified cultivation dissipation powder. Li Fan had once been poisoned by the cultivation dissipation powder, and that thing was indeed terrible. It was no wonder that Muronging was locked up. After absorbing that thing, she couldn't even raise her skills. How could she play? This is for you. Yushi handed a black glass ball to Li Fan. What? Do you want to play marbles with me at such a serious time? Yushi rolled one of her eyes and said, this is a poison-repelling bead, extracted from a 10,000-year-old snow toad. She stuffed the poison-repellent bead into Li Fan's hand. Put it on your tongue. It will protect you from all poisons. What about you? Li Fan couldn't help worrying about Yushi. I have been trained since I was young. Poison has no effect on me. Yushi's words seemed calm, but Li Fan felt that there was endless bitterness in them. However, since Yushi didn't want to talk about it, it wasn't appropriate for him to ask. Okay, how do we go up the mountain? Li Fan stood at the foot of the mountain and looked at Wudang Mountain. There were already many disciples of the devil's sect guarding it. Before he found his fiancée, everything was still unknown. There are two ways. One is to attack by force, and the other is to outsmart him. Yushi pointed at Mount Wudang and said, if we attack them head-on, we will have to face them head-on. To outsmart them is to sneak up the mountain. Sneak in. Well, we can pretend to be tourists to offer incense and enter Mount Wudang to investigate the whereabouts of Muronging and the others. Both of these methods are good. Li Fan nodded. Come on. All of them. Yushi was stunned. Why would all of them come? These two methods contradict each other. Well, I attack by force and you outsmart him. Li Fan stood at the foot of the mountain, facing Mount Wudang and said with a smile, when I attack by force, help me investigate where my troublesome fiancé is locked up. Attacking by force is too dangerous. Not to mention you are alone, I am not alone. Li Fan took out the poison-repellent bead and said, aren't you always by my side? Then. Take care, Yushi did not hesitate. Since Li Fan had decided on a plan, she immediately turned and walked into the snow. The snow was very heavy and seemed to be getting heavier. Li Fan stretched and then slowly walked towards the entrance of Mount Wudang. After the 15th of the first month, because it was snowing, there were not many tourists. Mount Wudang was also very quiet. At the foot of the mountain stood two men who were obviously not Wudang disciples. Wudang disciples were all wearing dark blue Daoist robes, but these two disciples were wearing black and red robes with a black sun imprinted on their chest. Solipsism. Solipsism. When Li Fan walked up, the two disciples thought that he was a tourist and did not pay too much attention to him. However, Li Fan stood in front of the mountain gate, summoned his true energy, and roared. Solipsism. Young Master Li Fan. Release the young master's woman. Otherwise, I will wash Mount Wudang with blood. The roar was like thunder, shaking the Wudang mountain. The two devil cult disciples were startled, their eyes fell on Li Fan at the same time. You are Li Fan. Yes, I am your young master. Li Fan laughed. If you know what's good for you, scram to the side. Otherwise, I will not be polite. With just you. You want to challenge my devil sect? Idiot. The two devil disciples immediately rushed over. They were holding two long sabers as if they wanted to chop Li Fan into pieces. Although they were only guarding disciples, their martial arts were indeed good and their saber techniques were also very sharp. As the saying goes, a quick saber cuts a tangled hemp. But Li Fan just smiled. He stretched out his hands and flicked the sabers away. At the same time, his right leg kicked out twice, hitting the acupoints of the two people and knocking them unconscious. Solipsism is only a so-so. Li Fan passed through the entrance and continued up the mountain. The mountain road was rugged. As the road to the sect, there was only a small path that led to the top of the mountain. The other side was a wide road, but it led to the Wudang sect's tourist area. That was the route that belonged to Yu Shi. He did not go there. From the mountain, a lot of solipsism disciples came down. Each of them had an overbearing aura as they intercepted Li Fan on the rugged mountain road. A few devil disciples roared and pounced towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not show any mercy. With a few punches and kicks, he knocked 4 devil disciples to the ground. The last Bear King seal landed on the chest of the last evil sect disciple who was charging over. Boom! That devil disciple was immediately sent flying and smashed a few pine trees on the side of the road before fainting there. As for those devil disciples on the ground, Li Fan stomped on their hands and feet, crippling their martial arts. Li Fan's methods caused the remaining devil disciples to be afraid. They stood there, no one dared to take a step forward. As Li Fan walked forward, they watched as Li Fan continuously retreated. Not long later, Li Fan arrived in front of the Wudang main hall. Many devil disciples rushed out, a total of 40 to 50 people blocked in front of Li Fan. Everyone looked at Li Fan vigilantly as if they were facing a great enemy. But no one dared to step forward. They could only maintain a certain distance from Li Fan. A bunch of trash. At this time, 3 people walked out. The one who spoke was a woman in a cloak. Chapter 467. What a bunch of trash. Song Fuya crossed her arms and sneered coldly. What's the use of the leader keeping you? After all, she was Elder Zhua. With her ridicule, those devil cult disciples didn't dare to hesitate anymore. They mustered up their courage and rushed toward Li Fan. Some appetizers. Li Fan didn't care. His moves were very clean and neat, constantly defeating the enemies in front of him. More than 40 devil cult disciples launched an attack, but Li Fan only used his 7-hero fist. 1 move for each of them. In less than 5 minutes, they were all down. Indeed, a bunch of trash. Li Fan laughed, they didn't even warm up. Little Overlord Li Fan, do you really think you can win? Song Fuya crossed her arms and stood in front of Li Fan. In the count of 10, you won't be able to use internal force anymore. That sounds really scary. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Leave it to me. White Impermanence licked his fingers. Let me tear this person's neck. I want to taste his blood. You devil cult really have a heavy taste. Li Fan couldn't help but ridicule. The heavier taste is yet to come. White Impermanence stretched out his hands. Wait for me to pull out your intestines and let you have a good look. With that, White Impermanence jumped and easily crossed the distance of more than 10 meters. He appeared on top of Li Fan's head and grabbed toward Li Fan's throat with his soul-snatching claw. Li Fan stretched out his hands and directly grabbed White Impermanence's wrist. At the same time, his knee heavily hit White Impermanence's lower abdomen. White Impermanence spat out a mouthful of blood. But he was a qualified martial artist and the devil cult's right protector, so he endured it. But Li Fan twisted his waist and swung his hands, directly throwing White Impermanence away. White Impermanence's body flipped in the air and landed firmly on the ground. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Li Fan in surprise. What a waste. Song Fuya and the protectors wanted to ridicule together. White Impermanence immediately cried out, "Fuck, this kid is a little weird." 10 seconds have passed. He's at your mercy now. Song Fuya calculated the time. I rather enjoy the feeling of being slaughtered. White Impermanence looked at Li Fan as if she was looking at a dead man. Bring it on. Li Fan hooked his finger at White Impermanence. Die. Bai Wuchang rushed forward again. This time, his technique was even more incisive. The soul-seizing claw drew an afterimage in the air. But Li Fan just stretched out his crane hand, and immediately bounced off White Impermanence's claw. At the same time, Li Fan directly kicked high, bringing out a bolt of lightning, right at White Impermanence's face. Rushing thunder feet. Li Fan's kick directly knocked out one of Bai Wuchang's front teeth. Bai Wuchang's body flipped in the air and finally fell heavily to the ground. The Black Impermanence stepped forward and pulled his comrade up. Damn it, where's the promised 10 seconds? He should have prepared some poison-repellent medicine, Song Fuya ridiculed. Trash. With your skills, you still have the face to call yourself the right protector of solipsism. She was very dissatisfied, but the left protector's authority was indeed higher than the right protector. White Impermanence could only clench her teeth and endure. Indeed, it's time for your right protector to be replaced. Li Fan nodded his head, admitting that Song Fuya's words were somewhat reasonable. Black and White Impermanence have always acted together. Song Fuya told Li Fan, when the two of them are together, they are no longer trash. While speaking, White Impermanence had already stood up. The two of them looked at each other before pulling out a ghost-beating stick from their back at the same time and held it in their hands. The two of them jumped on the spot. Like zombies, they instantly jumped in front of Li Fan and waved their ghost-beating sticks at Li Fan. Li Fan extended his hand to block their ghost-beating sticks, but in an instant, the two of them suddenly disappeared. Li Fan's back and waist suffered a blow at the same time, causing his internal organs to tremble. However, Li Fan's internal energy was powerful and was able to stabilize his dantian very quickly. The two of them once again disappeared from Li Fan's line of sight, as if they really were ghosts. Solipsism's right protector, Black and White Impermanence. When the two of them combine their strength, the impermanent soul-locking formation is unparalleled in the world. Song Fuya still had her arms crossed as she looked at Li Fan. Her gaze carried a cold smile. Coming here without any preparations is truly foolish. The soul-locking formation of the Black and White Impermanence was indeed powerful. It came and went without a trace, causing Li Fan to have a headache. Unknowingly, Li Fan had already been hit tens of times. If not for his chi protecting his body, who knows how many bones in his body would have been broken. Stop playing around. Quickly kill him. Song Fuya urged. As for the Black and White Impermanence, they kept leaving afterimages as they started to hit Li Fan's vitals with their ghost-beating sticks. But at this moment, Li Fan extended his hands and released Dragon Toad's absorption of water. The black and white impermanents did not even have the chance to react. Their bodies were grabbed by Li Fan and they staggered forward. Li Fan's hands were already on top of their heads. "Are you tired of playing?" Li Fan's cold voice caused the black and white impermanents to be deeply shocked. Bang! Bang! The two of them burst out with chi at the same time and shook off Li Fan's hands before returning to Song Fuya's side. "This person's strength is unfathomable," the white impermanents let out a strange voice, causing people to tremble in fear. "Looks like the two of us have to show some of our true abilities." With that, the black impermanence suddenly jumped onto the white impermanence's back. His entire body was very strange, as if a piece of paper was stuck to the white impermanence's back. This white impermanence rose and fell and quickly floated towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not know what kind of martial arts this fellow was using. He only felt that it was very strange. After all, they were the black and white impermanents. Could it be that they were still wandering in the netherworld? The black and white impermanents had already arrived in front of Li Fan in a few leaps. The white impermanence immediately used soul-snatching claw and grabbed towards Li Fan's neck. And just as Li Fan used crane hands to block it, the black impermanence's ghost-beating stick in both hands smashed towards Li Fan's head. Different bodies with one heart. Li Fan understood that the most powerful state of these two people was the combination of the two. A person with two hands would definitely be more powerful than a person with one hand. And a person with four hands would definitely be more powerful. The two ghost-beating sticks went straight for the top of Li Fan's head. If it was a solid hit, even if Li Fan had divine body protection, his head would probably be smashed like a watermelon. But Li Fan was also not a good person. He suddenly shouted, "Ha!" Fierce tiger roar. The sound formed an impact and instantly hit the black and white impermanents, causing the two of them to slide back a meter. And Li Fan suddenly took a step forward and directly stabbed into the white impermanence's shoulder. Dragon shattering hand. Li Fan's hand instantly pierced through the white impermanence's shoulder and even stabbed into the black impermanence's shoulder. Chapter 468. Li Fan's hand grabbed onto black impermanence's shoulder blade and pulled back. Gotcha! The black impermanence's shoulder blade pierced through his brother's shoulder and was pulled out by Li Fan. With fresh blood, he was casually thrown to the ground by Li Fan. With just one move, Li Fan had almost destroyed the martial arts of two impermanences. This was the Seven Heroes' Fist. Li Fan always strived to defeat his enemy in one move in the shortest amount of time. When Song Fuya saw this scene, she could not help but be shocked. "This is the Seven Heroes' Fist." Song Fuya frowned and asked. "That's right." Li Fan nodded. "Miss, are you not going to personally exchange a few moves with me?" Li Fan beckoned to Song Fuya with his finger. "I am the left protector of solipsism, Song Fuya." Song Fuya told him her name. "I'm not good at martial arts. Since the right protector has been defeated, there is probably no one on Wudong Mountain who can stop you," she said confidently, "but if you were to save Muronging and leave today, I am afraid the sect leader of solipsism will not let you off." "Little Overlord Li Fan, do you have the guts to become enemies with the sect leader? What you said is quite funny." Li Fan was amused. "Young master even dares to marry the martial alliance master. Are you afraid of offending the sect leader of an evil cult? The grudge between me and your evil cult is not just this little." Li Fan said, "I will definitely take revenge for stealing my 9 Buddha Sutra and the Sword of 4 Beasts. Since I lost face, I will naturally take it back myself. Just a mere martial alliance master. Solipsism does not place him in my eyes." Song Fuya said loudly, "In the world of pugilistic world, only I am supreme. In the world of pugilistic world, only I am supreme. Countless voices reverberated around. Li Fan looked up and saw that on the surrounding main halls, there were suddenly densely packed evil faction disciples. There were at least 200 to 300 of them. Moreover, these devil cult disciples emitted an unusual feeling, giving Li Fan a sense of threat. He was also surprised that the devil cult had hidden so many disciples in this place. They think too highly of Wudong. This is the true power of solipsism. Song Fuya said proudly, "How can you fight against hundreds of my disciples alone? What if I'm included?" At this moment, a familiar man walked over with a black box on his back. He was dressed in ordinary casual clothes, but he had a temperament that no one dared to underestimate. Behind him were more than 200 experts dressed in blue robes. Each of them had a sword imprinted on their back. Li Fan was familiar with the man leading the group. He had fought with him not long ago. There were 4 major alliances in the pugilistic world, and this man was a cadre of Whistling West Wind who was also the eldest disciple of Yin Wuchao, Su Jinrong. "Brotherly, I'm late." Su Jinrong cupped his hands at Li Fan and then looked up at Song Fuya. "Left Protector, since everyone has brought their men here, why don't we have a fight and have some fun?" "Whistling West Wind, how dare you ruin solipsism?" Song Fuya's voice sounded a little angry. The 4 major alliances have always been enemies with the devil cult. Su Jinrong smiled. "Could it be that we have become good friends without me knowing?" "You foolish people." Song Fuya cursed. "How dare you stop the sect master? You will all be destroyed." "It's definitely a cult déjà vu," Li Fan couldn't help but want to complain. Song Fuya seems to have been brainwashed. How powerful is Li Wei to make Song Fuya so loyal to him? Li Fan couldn't help but imagine what Li Wei looked like. "Left Protector, you're a smart person. Do you still want to be enemies with us in this situation?" Su Jinrong continued to ask. "Whistling West Wind is really generous. You must have sent all the experts." "Not at all, the devil cult is an honorable guest, we should entertain them well. In front of me, these 200 men of yours are nothing more than trash. Since I know that you're here, wouldn't I be prepared?" Su Jinrong said with a smile, "Before going up the mountain, I've already made everyone take the heart-cleansing pill. Within 4 hours, they will be immune to all poisons. If you don't believe me, feel free to try it." The 2 of them spoke one after another, and Song Fuya finally humphed. "Little Overlord Li Fan, riding your horse and whistling in the west wind, we, the devil cult, will remember this. Retreat." "Yes." All the disciples of the devil cult immediately evacuated from the Wudong mountain. 2 disciples of the devil cult also came over and carried their right protector away. But of these 2 black and white impermanents, at least the black impermanence has already lost an arm. Looking at these devil cult disciples leaving like the tide, Su Jinrong also let out a sigh of relief. "She's finally gone. Scared her away." Li Fan raised his eyebrows and roughly understood what Su Jinrong meant. "It seems that Big Brother Su doesn't have the so-called heart-cleansing pill, right?" Su Jinrong smiled. "Not only do I not have the heart-cleansing pill, but more than half of these 200 people are extras I hired from the town. I left in a hurry, how could I bring so many people?" Li Fan suddenly felt that this Su Jinrong was not easy to deal with. If he became enemies with this guy, he didn't know when he would be schemed against. "Since the people of the devil cult have retreated, brotherly, quickly go and pick up your fiancée." Su Jinrong reminded Li Fan, "I also want to pay a visit to the Alliance Master." "Okay." No matter what, Su Jinrong helped him this time. Besides, Su Jinrong had helped him a little. "Brotherly, you may not know, but the people on the roof just now are the corpse disciples of the devil cult." "Corpse disciples?" What the hell is that? Li Fan felt like he was illiterate. That's a special weapon of the devil cult. Su Jinrong got goosebumps at the mention of it. They let some fanatical believers in the cult smear corpse oil on their bodies and use some kind of demonic attack to train their bodies to have bronze skin and iron bones. Su Jinrong continued, with these bronze skin and iron bones, they can be invulnerable and impervious to fire and water. Li Wei likes to call his terrifying corpse disciples the undead army that fights for him in the Holy War. Li Wei is really ruthless. Li Fan was a little fearful. The leader of the devil cult was using advanced technology. If he had really fought with 200 of them just now, it might have been difficult to determine the winner. After all, they were a group of people with bronze skin and iron bones. His hands would hurt if he fought with them. Li Fan was walking inside when he suddenly saw a figure floating past. He subconsciously turned around. Beside him were the extras hired by Su Jinrong, as well as some real disciples of Whistling West Wind who were rescuing the disciples of the Wudang sect. Did I see wrongly? Chapter 469. Li Fan felt that he seemed to have seen Yin Xiaoru just now. However, this flying cat should not be in Wudang at this time. It was probably having fun somewhere else. Li Fan followed Su Jinrong. The two of them circled around the Wudang sect. They were a little confused. No one could find Murong and Master Yu Su of Shaolin Temple. It seems that the two of them are locked in a secret room, Su Jinrong muttered. Su Jinrong muttered, this is not good. The other Wudang disciples don't know where the two of them are. Leave it to me. As Li Fan spoke, he turned his head and saw that Yu Shi was standing behind him without him noticing. Seeing him, Su Jinrong gasped. Oh my god, isn't this the Black Guard Heartless Saber of the Genie Guard? Why is she here, and she seems to know Li Fan? Have you found it? Li Fan asked. Found it. Yu Shi gave Li Fan a satisfactory answer. In a secret room in the True Martial Hole. Yes, I'll have to trouble Heartless Saber to bring us there. Li Fan was very polite in front of outsiders. He did not want others to know about his relationship with Yu Shi, so as not to bring unnecessary trouble to Yu Shi. Not at all. Please. Yu Shi also showed a very polite look. She pointed in the direction of the True Martial Hole. Su Jinrong also greeted Yu Shi politely. After all, the Genie Guard was the official's family. Except for the weirdos like Li Fan and Murong, who were not very respectful, the rest of the sects and organizations had to be respectful to the Genie Guard. Especially the Black Guard of the Genie Guard, this was the absolute authority. It was said that they had the power to kill the martial artists, and they could kill first and report later. If they could get the support of the Genie Guard, then Whistling West Wind was likely to become the most powerful of the four alliances. This was what Whistling West Wind had always wanted to do, to become the real number one alliance. There were actually 4 alliances in the pugilistic world. That was simply too many. Su Jinrong tried his best to please Yu Shi, but Yu Shi basically ignored him and only talked to Li Fan. However, Su Jinrong wasn't angry. After all, he felt that a person as high and mighty as Yu Shi should act like this. Right here, there's a secret passage. Yu Shi led Li Fan and Su Jinrong into a secret passage behind the True Martial Palace. Li Fan was curious. How did you find this secret passage? There's a strange wind. Yu Shi gave a very simple explanation. Li Fan said, is this woman a hunting dog? Fortunately, she wasn't his enemy. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. This woman did have some skills in tracking. Otherwise, how could she have snuck into a service center to find him? It's so deep here. Su Jinrong walked down the long corridor and looked at the surroundings. He felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't expect that there would be such a place in a righteous sect like Wudang. Every sect has some secrets. There's nothing to be surprised about. Li Fan said that when he was on Mount Hua, the secret passage was still hidden in the well. That sour feeling at the bottom of the well. Needless to say, it was unforgettable. The three of them went all the way to the depths. There was a dungeon set up here that wasn't very big, but there was a very narrow passage in front of the dungeon. There was only a tall figure standing in front of it, motionless like a stone statue. What is this? A statue of Wudong. Li Fan looked at the almost 2-meter tall statue in front of him and couldn't help but ask. Don't touch it. Yushi grabbed the curious Li Fan. Su Jinrong also subconsciously pulled out his golden sabers and looked at the stone statue in front of him nervously. What's wrong? Li Fan was a little surprised. Why did Yushi and Su Jinrong have such big reactions? Young hero Li, this is not a statue. This is a gray man. Su Jinrong reminded Li Fan, they are monsters in human skin specially created by the devil cult. These people have a virus on them. If you touch them, you will be infected. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. This devil cult is too much. They actually made this kind of biological weapon? These people no longer have any rationality. They are acting based on instinct. Su Jinrong was very nervous. It should be said that he was extremely nervous. This thing is not a kind person. I don't want to be infected by this damn virus. What effect does this virus have? Li Fan asked while retreating. It can destroy people's skin, leaving only muscles on the body. Su Jinrong pointed at the man in front of him who looked like a stone. They are like this. They don't have skin. The stone is branded on their muscles. Becoming like this. The devil cult is really scary. Li Fan couldn't help but shudder. This is not a joke. If a person lived like this, how much pain would it be? This gray man seemed to prove Li Fan's thoughts. He suddenly moved slowly and let out an extremely painful roar. Then, he pulled up an iron chain from the ground. With a clattering sound, the man in gray dragged out a rusty iron anchor from the ground beside him. The huge iron anchor in his hand is like a toy. He casually swung it a few times and then threw it towards Li Fan and the rest. The iron anchor cut through the air and made a swishing sound. In a blink of an eye, it is in front of Li Fan and the rest. I will protect you. Su Jinrong said as he raised his golden blades and placed it on the huge iron anchor. Clang! His arms sank and his knees kneeled on the ground, creating a pit on the ground. That gray man, his strength was a bit too strong. Step back. Yushi stepped forward and pulled out the black blade in her hand. A black crescent-shaped blade flew out and instantly cut the iron chain in half. Following that, Yushi threw out 2 more blades. 2 crescent moons cut the gray man's body into 4 pieces. Yushi's heartless blade is unstoppable. At this moment, she finally displayed her strength. Behind the gray man is a stone door. Yushi once again cut it into 4 pieces with the black blade and it fell to the other side of the door. On the other side of the door is a metal cage. Inside is a beautiful woman and an old monk. You came too late. Muronging crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. She stood there and looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. I haven't bathed for a few days. It's so uncomfortable. If I force you, I will throw you in there for a few more days. Li Fan rolled his eyes. I am your benefactor now. Can't you be more polite? You are my husband. You should have saved me. Murong Ying's tone is still domineering. Quickly help me open the cage. Chapter 470. Li Fan walks to the front of the cage and looks at Murong Ying who is sitting in the cage. He squats down with a smile and says to her. Quick, call me hubby. You, say hubby, I beg you. Quickly open the door for me. Dream on. With Murong Ying's temper, how can she allow Li Fan to tease her like this? At that moment, she is unbearably angry. If not for the fact that I can't circulate my qi, I will definitely tear your stinky mouth apart. Ayaya, if you can circulate your qi, do you still need me to save you? Li Fan resumes his old job and starts to tease his alliance leader's fiancée, my alliance leader's wife. Why has your logical thinking ability become bad after being locked up for a few days? You are courting death. Muronging is unbearably angry, but she can't do anything to Li Fan. Look, you are angry again. Li Fan squats there and says with a smile, fortunately, we are husband and wife. If we fight at the head of the bed, we will reconcile at the end. Who wants to reconcile with you? Muronging glares at Li Fan fiercely, but looking at Li Fan's appearance, he doesn't seem to mind. Instead, he is still smiling, making Muronging want to grind her teeth. Are you letting me out or not? Call me hubby. Li Fan stands up, crosses his arms, and looks at Muronging. You too, let this alliance leader out. Muronging has no choice but to surrender her gaze to the two people at the side. But if Li Fan doesn't say anything, she will not move. Su Jinrong was very embarrassed. He felt that he was unnecessary at this moment. To save or not to save, this is the problem. If he saves, he will offend Li Fan. If he doesn't save, he will offend Alliance leader Murong. Damn it, I shouldn't have rushed over at that time. Not only would he fail to claim credit, he would also die. No matter who he offended, the two of them were a couple. In the end, it was just like what Li Fan had said, they would fight at the head of the bed and make up at the end. In the end, he was in a terrible situation. Wife, why do you have to make things difficult for them? Li Fan laughed and said, why do we have to involve others in our matters? Look, you're making things so difficult for them. Muronging wanted to kill someone, but the one who made things difficult for them was you, bastard. But looking at Li Fan's innocent look, he would never admit it. When this guy was thick-skinned, even a cannonball couldn't penetrate his skin. If you don't call me husband, I won't let you out. Li Fan said again, but Muronging ignored him. It seems our alliance master likes this place very much. Let's head back, then. Li Fan waved his hand and prepared to leave with his men. Muronging was anxious. She hurriedly took a step forward and subconsciously shouted. Don't go, who said don't go? Li Fan looked back at him. Husband, don't go, Muronging's voice was like a mosquito buzzing. Li Fan immediately turned around and asked. What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. Don't push your luck. Muronging glared at him with her almond-shaped eyes. Only then did Li Fan put away his mischievous smile. Good, good, good. Our alliance master has been trapped for so long. This is outrageous. With that, Li Fan walked to the front of the iron cage and stretched out his hands to grab the two bars. He exerted force and forcibly bent the two railings. Amitba. I finally see the light of day again. Master Yusu was also released. This old monk was quite emotional. This dungeon is really quiet. However, it's inconvenient for men and women to cultivate. Thank you for your hard work, Master Yusu. Su Jinrong hurriedly put his palms together and bowed to this Shaolin abbot. Since you've taken advantage of me, now it's time to do me a favor. Muronging pulled Li Fan's collar, otherwise, I won't forgive you. We're already an old married couple. Why are you still so shy? Li Fan pulled away Muronging's hand and helped her pat off the dust on her clothes. Look at you. You've been locked up for a few days and you're already haggard. Looking at the deep concern in Li Fan's eyes, Muronging actually couldn't get angry. This guy is quite concerned about me. Those damn devil cult, they've really gone too far this time. Su Jinrong said angrily, this time they're actually so bold. Not only did they forcibly occupy Wudong Mountain, they even locked up Alliance Master Murong and Master Yusu. He cupped his hands toward Muronging. Alliance Master Murong, this time we can't indulge them anymore. We must launch an all-out attack on the devil cult. We will ride our horses to the west wind and follow Alliance Master's lead. Su Jinrong hurriedly expressed his loyalty. Behind all of this should be their Alliance Master's authorization. I will arrange this matter. You don't need to remind me. Muronging didn't care about Su Jinrong. She took a deep breath and then instructed Li Fan, I've been poisoned by a very special cultivation dissipating powder. Only Song Fuya has the antidote. Li Fan, are you willing to make a trip for me? Song Fuya's character is strange. If I want to directly snatch it from her, even if she dies, she won't hand it over. When Li Fan thought of that woman, he felt a little panicky. If she dies in exchange for a martial arts alliance master with crippled martial arts, she will definitely feel that it's worth it. You've got a plan. After living under the same roof for so long, Muronging already understood Li Fan very well. When she heard Li Fan say this, she knew that he already had his own idea. Well, we can't snatch it, but we can steal it. As Li Fan spoke, he turned his head and glanced at her. It's time for you to come down. Everyone was a little surprised. Who was Li Fan talking about? As soon as his voice fell, a figure landed from behind the stone statue. She was wearing convenient night clothes and had a slim figure. When she landed, she let out a string of silver bell-like laughter. Little junior sister. When Su Jinrong saw Flying Cat, a smile appeared on his face. You're here. Are you here to look for me? TSK, I'm not looking for you. Yin Xiaoru rolled her eyes at Su Jinrong, as if she didn't care about this eldest senior brother at all. Little junior sister, long time no see. Don't you miss senior brother? Su Jinrong hurriedly asked. Why would I miss you? You're not my biological brother. Yin Xiaoru said as she walked to Li Fan's side and enthusiastically held his arm. Sticking to his side, she said, Little sweetheart, how did you find me? Li Fan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. This girl was teasing him again. Sure enough, Muronging frowned and snorted. Li Fan, I'm suffering here, but you're enjoying yourself. You're fooling around outside, aren't you? What are you talking about? The two of us are purely colleagues. Li Fan hurriedly pushed Yin Xiaoru away and then glared at her. You're causing trouble for me the moment you come. With your movement technique, you're still a few years away from being able to hide from me. Humph, I didn't hide it carefully. Otherwise, none of you would be able to find me. Yin Xiaoru was very unwilling. Su Jinrong wiped his cold sweat at the side, thinking in his heart, what the hell is going on? Chapter 471. Are you Yin Xiaoru? Muronging pulled Li Fan to the side. She was more than 7 meters tall, a head taller than Yin Xiaoru, so she looked down at Yin Xiaoru. You're the daughter of Golden Eagle Castle. Why are you dressed like a thief? Hey, although you're the chief of Wulin, it's not up to you to tell me what to wear, right? Yin Xiaoru rolled her eyes. I can wear whatever I want. What a willful girl. Didn't Yin Wuchao discipline you? You're so annoying. Yin Xiaoru pouted and rolled her eyes at Muronging. You're just the chief of Wulin. Why do you like to meddle in other people's business? I don't care. I just think you're annoying. The two women began to bicker. Li Fan hurriedly advised, "You two, stop arguing. My wife, we still have to ask her for help with this matter." Her. How can a willful girl be of any help? Muronging crossed her arms and said arrogantly. Li Fan was very helpless. Damn it, you're willful enough. Her lightness skill is good. I need her to help you steal the antidote. Li Fan said, Song Fuya is a very special woman. She has poison to protect her body. Ordinary people can't get close to her. Besides me and Yushi, only the person with the poison prevention bead can get close to her. As he spoke, he took out a small black bead, which surprised Su Jinrong. Poison prevention bead. Young hero Li, why do you have this? Amitba, Master Yu Su also put his hands together and sighed. The last time I saw it, I was still a child. You don't need to care about its origin. It's borrowed anyway. Li Fan said and handed the bead to Yin Xiaoru. Take it. You'll need it later. Yin Xiaoru's eyes lit up. She dodged the bead and asked, how do I use it? Just put it under your tongue. Li Fan reminded Yin Xiaoru, I borrowed this thing, you must return it to me. I know, you are really stingy. Yin Xiaoru angrily rolled her eyes at Li Fan and unwillingly stuffed the bead into her pocket. What are you going to do if you give her the poison prevention pearl? Yushi, who had been silent all this time, finally couldn't help but speak up. She was worried about Li Fan's safety. It's fine. Actually, I don't care about this bit of poisonous gas. Li Fan's control of true qi was unique, so he did not care about Song Fuya's poisonous fog. Even if she knows how to steal, how can she steal, and where can she steal? Muronging asked. Leave it to me. Li Fan already had an idea. I want Song Fuya to take out the antidote herself. How is that possible? Don't tell me you know hypnosis. Of course not, but I have my own brilliant plan. Li Fan said, straightening his clothes. Heartless Saber, please help me find the whereabouts of Song Fuya and the others. Yushi nodded. They should not have gone far. The black and white impermanents are seriously injured. I think they should stay in a nearby town for a night. Wait for me on the mountain, I will be back soon. Yushi said, her feet bounced, her whole body stepped on the mountain wind, like a black shadow, disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. I didn't expect this Heartless Saber's Qinggong to be so beautiful. After saying that, Muronging glanced at Li Fan. I remember that she was still chasing you before. How come it seems that after I was locked up for a few days, your relationship with many women inexplicably improved a lot? Ahem, what are you talking about? Li Fan patted his chest, this can only mean that my charm is great. Charming your sister. I hope it can be solved smoothly. In any case, not having martial arts was a bit uncomfortable for Muronging. All she could do now was to wait. And just as Yushi expected, at this moment, Song Fuya was staying in a 4-star hotel in the town at the foot of Mount Wudong. In this place, a 4-star hotel was already the most high-end hotel. Song Fuya took a shower, dried her hair, and then looked at the old sofa in the bedroom with some dissatisfaction. I really don't want to come to this kind of place a second time. Song Fuya sighed. This time's mission was really, very not smooth. Not only did she fail to defend Mount Wudong, even the black and white impermanents were killed. If the sect leader knew about this, how could she have the face to be the left protector? Song Fuya sat there, thinking about how she should apologize. At this moment, a breeze blew through the window. Song Fuya immediately frowned and looked at the window vigilantly. It was winter now, she did not have the habit of opening the window in cold weather. Before Song Fuya could check, the door was knocked. Who is it? Song Fuya questioned. It's your room service, Mississippi, a familiar voice sounded outside the door, and Song Fuya immediately reached out and grabbed a bathrobe from the bathroom. She then wrapped it around her body. Honorable Miss, may I come in? Humph, Song Fuya opened the door, and indeed, Li Fan was standing outside, looking at her with a smile. What a surprise! Song Fuya said sarcastically, I didn't expect the little tyrant to think so highly of me that he chased me all the way here from Mount Wudong. Because I like beautiful women, I naturally have to chase after beautiful women. Looking at Song Fuya, who had revealed her true appearance, Li Wei felt that she was rather good-looking. Li Wei had chosen a beautiful woman to be his left protector. Chasing after me won't do you any good. Song Fuya looked at Li Fan arrogantly. You're much more articulate this time. Did you spit out the poison prevention pearl? You know about the poison prevention pearl? Li Fan pretended to be surprised, but Song Fuya couldn't help but mock him. Do you think I don't know? The poison prevention pearl is the only thing that can perfectly avoid my poison. Song Fuya's face was full of confidence. I've studied poison all my life, and you can't imagine how amazing it is. Do you think you can come in unscathed and take the antidote from me? Song Fuya mocked Li Fan. Arrogant kid, you've already been poisoned by my technique dissipation powder the moment you entered this room. Soon, you'll become my trophy. She seemed to be a little worried. I wonder if the sect master will be satisfied with you. He originally wanted Alliance Master Murong. However, you can't stop the Emperor of Pugilistic World. He's going to rise. I think you're crazy. Li Fan rolled his eyes. You've been brainwashed too much. You're too stupid to understand true holiness and greatness. Song Fuya mocked Li Fan. You don't have an ideal man. Now, you can only kneel before me powerlessly. Chapter 472. Li Fan's face turned pale. He took 2 steps back and fearfully looked at Song Fuya. I'm still young. I don't want to die. Li Fan looked at Song Fuya, who picked up a fruit knife and hurriedly said, I'm willing to join solipsism. You? Where's your loyalty? Song Fuya looked at Li Fan with ridicule. What a joke. You'd better go seek refuge with King Yenluo. How boring. I can't fool you. Li Fan sat down on the short counter and then looked at Song Fuya with a smile. Do you think I'm an idiot? Why would I throw away the poison prevention pearl before seeing you? You probably don't believe me, but I have a godly thief by my side. Her name is Flying Cat. Song Fuya was shocked. She hurriedly turned her head and looked at the row of bottles hanging on the wall. But she immediately frowned. She knew something was wrong. Even if you know the antidote, you won't be able to get it. Song Fuya said as she turned around and threw the fruit knife at Li Fan. But Li Fan only stretched out his hand and grabbed the fruit knife. Do you need me to peel the fruit for you, miss? Impossible. How can you still use your internal force? Song Fuya looked at Li Fan in shock. He had obviously inhaled her poisonous fog, but he was still fine. He obviously didn't use the poison prevention pearl. Song Fuya couldn't figure it out, and only Li Fan himself knew about his ability. He used his true qi to cover his entire body, even his nostrils. If he didn't have a strong internal force, he would have suffocated to death. Song Fuya rubbed her eyes in disbelief. But she quickly reacted. Now was not the time to make a move. She was a strategic weapon. If she met someone who wasn't afraid of her poisonous fog, then her fighting strength would be too low. Song Fuya only had one thought in her mind, and that was to escape. She didn't even have time to wear her clothes. She wanted to take back her antidote and jump out with a towel wrapped around her. However, Li Fan suddenly used the white crane nod and instantly hit Song Fuya's acupuncture point. Song Fuya's body stiffened, and a woman dressed in black appeared out of nowhere. She dodged the bag of elixirs and jumped out of the window. "Where do you think you're going?" Song Fuya was shocked. She wanted to chase after him, but her blood was still sealed, so she couldn't move. "Sorry, I don't want you to leave." Li Fan's voice came from behind Song Fuya. Song Fuya suddenly bit the tip of her tongue, turned her head with difficulty, and spat out a mouthful of blood at Li Fan. Li Fan instinctively felt that something was wrong. He immediately shifted his feet and dodged to the side. With a puff, the blood arrow hit the wall behind him. A corroded black hole was left on the wall. It was a ghastly sight. Li Fan swallowed his saliva and thought to himself, "What the fuck is going on?" It seemed that this woman not only knew how to play with poison, even the blood in her body was poisonous. This was really fucked up. His vital energy couldn't completely resist this kind of liquid poison. "Are you afraid?" Song Fuya licked her blood-red lips and looked at Li Fan. She smiled sweetly. "Don't worry, my poison comes quickly. I guarantee you won't feel any pain and you'll die peacefully." "Then I really have to thank you." Li Fan activated the vital energy in his body. "Li Fan, even if I have to use up all my blood, I will take your life." After being deceived by Li Fan, Song Fuya flew into a rage out of humiliation. She relied on the power of her blood to forcefully break through the seal of her blood. She turned around and spat out mouthfuls of blood arrows at Li Fan. Li Fan's feet kept shifting, and his body left a black afterimage. It was as if he was leaving some kind of black particles in the air. Li Fan's movements became lighter and lighter. The movements of the spirit monkey and immortal deer were firmly engraved in his bones and became a physical memory. Although Song Fuya's blood arrows were fast and vicious, it was not difficult for Li Fan to deal with. Song Fuya was getting more and more anxious. Her blood was not unlimited. But her poison had no effect on Li Fan. Damn it, this man, is he really immune to all poisons? In this world, other than the 4 black guards of the embroidered uniform guards, how could there be someone else with such an ability? Or did he also eat the clear heart pill? Impossible. Song Fuya was not stupid. The clear heart pill definitely did not exist. The reason why she left Mount Wudong was because Li Fan defeated the black and white impermanence in a second and shocked her. A man who had the poison prevention pearl and could defeat the black and white impermanence in a second was definitely not weak. Although she had brought 200 undead soldiers, they were the sect leader's most precious assets. They should be used in better places, such as the Holy War. Song Fuya was very smart and also very cautious. She chose to retreat, not because she was scared away by the sword-leaning smile, but because she was scared away by Li Fan alone. This man was getting more and more out of her expectations. Enough! Li Fan suddenly roared. He took a step forward and slapped himself in the air. Bear King Seal. Song Fuya felt as if her abdomen was hit by a car. She flew out and hit the window behind her, shattering the glass. Her body jumped down from the building. Song Fuya covered her lower abdomen with one hand and grabbed a towel with the other. Her body somersaulted in the air, and then she stepped on the building wall with both legs. Her whole body flew out and landed on a car below. Bang! The roof of the car was dented, but Song Fuya's feet were unharmed. She jumped and landed on a few cars and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. She ran quite fast. Li Fan stood on the window of the hotel and looked down. Song Fuya had already used the excuse of falling off the building to escape. I got it. Yin Xiaoru hung upside down from the window and suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan with a small bag filled with various medicines. How are you going to reward me? Yin Xiaoru waved the bag and asked. Don't mess around. It's filled with poison. It's not a joke if you spill it. Li Fan hurriedly said. I know. Look at how worried you are. Yin Xiaoru passed the bag to Li Fan. Keep it well. Don't blame me if something goes wrong. I know. Return the poison prevention bead. Li Fan extended his hand. Yin Xiaoru reluctantly spat out the poison prevention bead and stuffed it into Li Fan's palm. But why is this bead so salty? Maybe it's because I sucked it before I gave it to you. Yin Xiaoru's face changed. You actually kissed me indirectly. Chapter 473. You were the one who kissed me indirectly, okay? Li Fan raised his protest very shamelessly, which made Yin Xiaoru very dissatisfied. You bastard. You're shameless, you're despicable. Yin Xiaoru was so angry that she wanted to kill someone, but Li Fan laughed. Okay, you're a girl, how can you be so stingy? Hey, it's because you're a girl that you're stingy, okay? Yes, I was wrong. I shouldn't have kissed you indirectly. I'll kiss you directly next time. Bastard, I don't care about you. I'm leaving. Yin Xiaoru was so angry that she ran away. Like a pendulum, she swung on the window and then quickly left the hotel. Li Fan said that this girl's qigong seemed to be getting better and better. He checked the medicine bag and found that there were all kinds of medicines in it, but he couldn't tell what they were. It was better to take it back to Mount Wudong. There should be people there who knew something about medicine. Li Fan took the medicine bag and returned to Mount Wudong. At this time, Mount Wudong had returned to its former tranquility, but there was something different. Wu Jizi finally had a chance to be buried. He was lying in a coffin in front of the martial hall, looking peaceful as if he had really ascended to heaven. The bell of the martial hall kept ringing, as if to bid farewell to the sect leader. Li Fan saw Louis Shan, the Wu-Tang disciple who didn't like Yan Kai. At this moment, he seemed to have matured a lot, standing in the crowd and organizing the funeral of the sect leader with other disciples. And Master Yu Su sat on the side, silently using a unique Buddhist method to expiate the soul of his old friend. Muronging and Yushi were looking through the medicine bag. After searching for a day, Yushi confirmed the result. There is no antidote here. We were cheated. Li Fan was a little surprised. Cheated? How is that possible? I should have expected it. Muronging was a little annoyed. I can't believe that Song Fuya's nonsense. She said, the people of Medicine King Valley and Yin Gate spend their lives studying poisons and have no time to make antidotes. Now that I think about it, she was just lying to us. How can you be sure that there's really no antidote here? Li Fan was still hoping for a fluke. I've done some research on pharmacology, but I really don't have any. Yushi's words annoyed Li Fan. He clenched his fists. Song Fuya of the Devil Cult. How dare she trick me? I will settle this score with her sooner or later. Goddamn Devil Cult. Su Jinrong was also standing at the side. When he heard this, his face was filled with righteous indignation. If I catch them, I won't let them off. Alliance leader Murong, since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. This guy probably saw that Muronging had no value to him, so he wanted to get away as soon as possible. Devil Cult, that bunch of dogs. Li Fan clenched his teeth. They and I are irreconcilable enemies. The Devil Sect will always be the Devil Sect. Their actions will always be like this. Muronging came to a conclusion. it seems that my internal energy might not be able to recover. Amitabha, you don't have to be so ruthless. Master Yusu's words suddenly made Su Jinrong stop. Could it be that Murongning could still be saved? In this world, there is another place that can cure the poison of Yin men. Master Yusu is talking about Medicine King Valley. Murongning asked. Exactly. Fuck, ask them for the antidote. Li Fan was a little infuriated at that time. Those people from Medicine King Valley were all crazy. Anyway, those he met were not good people. People from Medicine King Valley are all unreasonable, unreliable. At this moment, this is the only way. Murongning sighed softly. I only hope that they can give me some face as the leader of Wulin. Li Fan, accompany me, how about it? Okay, I will accompany you. Li Fan was also angry. Their people poisoned my wife. If they don't give an explanation to the young master, I will destroy their Medicine King Valley. Li Fan, this little overlord, was also angry. Since that's the case, Wudang Mountain still has 30 experts who can ride on horseback to the west wind. Su Jinrong hurriedly came forward to ask, Leader Murong, can you bring them together to ask for the antidote? I am going to ask for the antidote, not to fight. Why do you need to make such a big scene? Murongning did not hesitate and flatly refused. In that case, this Su is willing to accompany Leader Murong. You are not my husband, why do I need you to accompany me? Murongning did not give him any face, she ignored the embarrassed Su Jinrong and whistled. The gold and silver swordsman landed from the roof next to them. Li Fan immediately became vigilant. Don't worry, they are my guards. Murongning hurriedly explained. Although the gold and silver swordsmen had also been poisoned, their physiques were different. After being poisoned, the poison would disappear in 3 days. Murongning had asked them to hide nearby so that they could wait for a chance to rescue her. You also have 2 handsome guards. Not bad. Li Fan was slightly jealous. Why didn't you assign a female guard for me? I assigned one for you. Murongning said openly, but she kind of hates you. After working for 2 days, she quit. She began to shift the blame. Look, it's all your fault, it's too annoying, you can't blame me. Fuck, I am infinitely charming, okay. Li Fan pursed his lips. At that moment, Master Yusu seemed to have finished chanting. He put his palms together and said, Amitabha. Alliance Master Murong, this old monk's body is already old. It's not suitable for a long journey, so I can't accompany you. However, I have already informed a monk in the sect to go to the Medicine King Valley to help Alliance Master Murong. How did you inform him? Li Fan said that there seemed to be no other monks on the Wudang Mountain apart from Yusu. I sent him a text message. Master Yusu hurriedly stuffed his mobile phone into his sleeve. This monk is rather intelligent, so he is unique in the temple and has a special Dharma name, Bodhi. In that case, I shall accept your request. Murongning found it hard to turn him down, so she agreed. I'll go and check on Li Wei's whereabouts. Yushi also bade farewell. Although she liked to spend time with Li Fan, it was limited to being alone. Now that there were 3 more people, it would be meaningless. Okay, let's say goodbye here. Without further ado, Li Fan did not want his wife to suffer too much. In that case, I won't accompany you any longer. Su Jinrong could not be thick-skinned. I'll go back and report this matter to Alliance Master Long. He has some ties with the Valley Master of the Medicine King Valley, so he might be able to help. Hence, Murongning had no choice but to cup her hands and watch Su Jinrong leave. She wondered if the request for medicine this time would be successful. Chapter 474. Regardless of whether Li Fan was willing or not, they arrived at a small town near Medicine King Valley 3 days later. The monk that Master Yusu mentioned is waiting for us here. Murong, accompanied by Li Fan the golden and silver swordsman, sat in a black Toyota Alpha. Li Fan had to admit that this Murong villa was indeed a big business. Even this place had the property of Murong's family. Wife, what does Murong's family do? Why are there people from your family everywhere? Li Fan couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. Real estate. With just 3 simple words, Li Fan understood. So they're in real estate. No wonder they can spread out such a large industrial chain. Li Fan was already a little impressed. He seemed to have found an amazing wife. Well, her identity as the leader of the martial arts world was even more amazing. He should be living in this hotel. The car stopped in front of a small hotel, and Murong glanced at the name of the hotel. Nightlife. This hotel was also a bunker. How could they name it like that? It would be better to call it Cannon Room. I'm also speechless. A monk lives in this kind of place, Li Fan said. Wait in the car, I'll go take a look. He opened the door, jumped out of the car, and walked into the small hotel. In any case, this was better than the hotel that Li Fan saw in Golden Eagle Castle. At least it was considered formal. However, there were only guest rooms on the first floor of the hotel, but a row of red lights was lit on the second floor, making people have all kinds of messy thoughts. The boss was a middle-aged man. He was sleepy at first, but when he saw Li Fan, he was refreshed. Brother, do you want to play? The boss asked directly. No, I'm looking for someone. Li Fan asked, do you have a monk here? Brother, this is a formal hotel. How can I divulge the information of my guests? The boss said with a smile, rubbing his fingers at the same time. A proper hotel. Li Fan wanted to laugh. Which proper hotel would have a sex room upstairs? He slammed his palm on the counter, leaving a 1 centimeter deep palm print. Boss, do I need to ask again? Brother. I was just being polite. The boss looked at the clear palm print and almost peed his pants. I don't know about the monk, but there's a baldy living on the 3rd floor. Which room? 303. Li Fan turned around and went upstairs, leaving the shivering bosses behind. It wasn't that Li Fan couldn't pay him. This kind of person was easy to get rid of. A few $100s was enough to get him to say everything. However, Li Fan was unwilling to be threatened by him. The name Little Tyrant was not for nothing. Li Fan went straight to the 3rd floor. There were 2 scantily clad women standing on the stairs of the 2nd floor. They were smoking and flirting with Li Fan. However, what kind of person was Li Fan? Not only did he have a beautiful woman at home, he also had many supreme beauties outside. This kind of trash, he didn't fancy. Li Fan walked to the 3rd floor and felt sweat dripping down. The entire corridor of the 3rd floor was filled with the excited shouts of a woman. The shouts were incessant, accompanied by a clapping sound that echoed in the corridor. Li Fan wiped his cold sweat. Who couldn't hold back and started doing it in broad daylight? Li Fan tried his best to ignore the concerto of love. He found room 303. The concerto was like a tsunami, coming out from inside. Li Fan wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Could it be that he was mistaken? He looked carefully. It was indeed 303 written on the door. Li Fan said that even if his education level was low, he couldn't be mistaken with the Arabic numerals. What exactly went wrong? Could it be that the boss was fooling him? In any case, Li Fan decided to give it a try first. He walked in front of the door and knocked on it. However, the sounds of pleasure and collision were still incessant. Li Fan was very embarrassed. Had the two of them reached the climax and reached a state where they had forgotten themselves? Li Fan was slightly speechless. But it was absolutely impossible for him to wait here. He was the little tyrant. Li Fan directly filled his voice with true energy and shouted. Beauty! Where the hell are you? Although Li Fan's voice was loud, it was wrapped in true energy, so it only transmitted to the room 303 in front of him. After all, Li Fan didn't want to alarm other guests to avoid unnecessary trouble. Li Fan's shout was effective. The sound of the concerto in the room came to an abrupt stop. A deep and powerful voice came from inside. Wait a minute, I'm wearing underwear. Li Fan's forehead was full of black lines. It seemed that it was indeed the martial monk that Master Yu Su mentioned. Beauty, this guy is actually prostituting. Li Fan didn't know what to say. After a while, the door of room 303 was pushed open. A woman with wet hair pushed open the door and walked out. She looked at Li Fan indifferently and then used her hand to tidy up her chest that was squeezed out by the clothes. She blew a kiss at the door and said coquettishly, "Little monk, you made me feel so good. I'll give you free of charge." After that, she also winked at Li Fan. "Little brother, do you want one? The second person is half price." The woman winked at Li Fan, causing Li Fan to have a terrible headache. Seeing that Li Fan wasn't interested, the woman didn't put in much effort. She chuckled, turned around and walked away while twisting her butt. Amitabha, a monk wearing a suit and leather shoes, came out with a red tie. He put his palms together and said politely to Li Fan. "Excuse me, are you Li Fan, benefactor Li?" "That's me." "Are you Beauty?" "Amitabha." "That's me." The monk wearing a black suit nodded. He had a delicate appearance and was about 30 years old. However, he was actually a lecher. "You came out to prostitute?" Li Fan couldn't help but ask. "Amitabha, benefactor Li is too serious." Beauty said, "Ever since I came down the mountain, I found that there are too many desires in this world. The world doesn't wake up, so I came to enlighten them. Just now, I was just doing my best to enlighten those female benefactors." "Fuck your grandpa, you enlightened them so well that they don't even want money anymore." Li Fan wanted to curse. Amitabha. It was this little monk who awakened their root of wisdom. They had an epiphany your grandpa. "Go downstairs." Li Fan grabbed Beauty's collar, pushed him into the house, and threw him out of the window. This Bodhi descended from the sky, but he put his palms together and stomped his feet on the ground, leaving 2 footprints on the ground. Li Fan floated down as well. Subhoodie grumbled in a rather displeased manner. "Benefactor Li, you're so impatient." Chapter 475. Don't you know Qigong? Li Fan couldn't help but mock Subhoodie as he watched him trample on the ground. Almsgiver Li is right. This humble monk is proficient in Shaolin's 72 ultimate arts, but I don't know Qigong. Subhoodie smiled shyly. Damn, what a weird flirty monk. Li Fan looked at Subhoodie again. I really don't understand. Why would Master Yu Su recommend you, Amitabha? Because this humble monk can purify the sins of the world. When Li Fan opened the car door, Subhoodie's eyes lit up when he saw Muronging. Amitabha, Lady Almsgiver, this humble monk can see that you are filled with sins. Why don't I help you purify them? Fuck you. Li Fan used the Ape King cannon and sent Subhoodie flying more than 10 meters away. Subhoodie smashed into a building, creating a human-shaped hole in the staircase. This is young master's wife. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll pull out your penis, you perverted monk. Li Fan said angrily. Amitabha, So it's Alliance Master Murong. This humble monk was wrong. Please forgive me, almsgiver Li. Subhoodie put his palms together at Li Fan. My sins, my sins. If you flirt again, be careful of your lower body. Li Fan reminded Subhoodie. Subhoodie nodded. Don't worry, almsgiver Li. This humble monk was born to purify the world. However, this humble monk has a principle, and that is not to purify other people's wives. Li Fan was speechless for a long time. At this time, Muronging had already walked down from Alpha and saw the monk in the suit pulling himself out of the hole. What kind of monk is this? He's even wearing a suit. Muronging couldn't help but frown. Amitba, Subhoodie bowed to Muronging. This must be Alliance Master Murong. This humble monk is Subhoodie. Are you the person that Master Yusu mentioned? Muronging probably felt that it didn't look like it. Not to mention her, even Li Fan felt that it didn't look like it. This fellow was clearly a perverted monk. He didn't look like a proper monk at all. Li Fan rolled his eyes. I've already received a message from the sect master. He wants me to help Alliance Master Murong with all my might. Subhoodie clasped his hands together, seeming completely out of place with his suit. Even if we have to climb mountains of blades or swim through seas of fire, League Lord Murong, we'll do as you say. Monk, you don't even know Qigong. What abilities do you have? Li Fan had said that this trip to the Valley of Medicine Masters to seek medicine would be fraught with danger. Bringing along a monk without any abilities would only be a burden to him and Muronging. Don't worry, almsgiver Li. I do have some skills. Subhoodie's voice boomed out like a great bell. I'm just using the 72 ultimate techniques of Shaolin Temple to protect myself. Subhoodie laughed. If you don't have some true abilities, how can you enlighten the world? Then what ultimate technique is it? The Buddha said, I can't say it, I can't say it. This is the ultimate technique of Shaolin Temple. The sect master has repeatedly warned me not to tell outsiders. Please forgive me, almsgiver Li. This is one of my principles. Fuck, Muronging frowned and reprimanded her in her delicate voice. Subhoodie, tell me the truth. Amitba, its invincible golden body. Subhoodie answered Muronging honestly, almost angeringly Fan to death. Damn, this monk was still a pervert. Whenever a woman asked him something, his principles would go to hell. Invincible golden body. Muronging was somewhat surprised. This is a divine technique that can only be comprehended when one has trained Golden Bell Shield to the extreme. I didn't expect you to have learned it. Golden Bell Shield was also one of the ultimate techniques of Shaolin Temple. Invincible Golden Body was only a legendary realm. But after hundreds of years, it seemed that not a single monk had managed to master it. How the fuck did you manage to master it? Li Fan was puzzled. Once, when I was trying to enlighten a female almsgiver, I inadvertently comprehended it. Subhoodie's words almost angered Li Fan to death. Fuck, he was wondering what the reason was, but it turned out that he had only managed to master it by fooling around. So the reason why a bunch of monks couldn't master it was because they were too scrupulously abiding by the rules. This was too ridiculous. It said that those who master the invincible golden body will not rot even after death. I wonder if that's true. Muronging sized up this flowery monk with interest. Li Fan grew wary. I don't know either. After all, it's just a stinky body. Sometimes, Subhoodie's words were filled with mystery. It was hard to tell if he was a flowery monk or a living Buddha like Ji Gong. In short, this person gave Li Fan a headache. Alright, Subhoodie has been picked up. Let's head to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Muronging waved her hand, signaling for Li Fan and Subhoodie to get into the car. Let this flowery monk sit in the back. Li Fan had quite a strong opinion of Subhoodie. This flowery monk, who was so daring in his lust, should be kept away from his wife. However, since when did he care so much about Muronging? It seemed like he was easily jealous of her. Yes, no matter what, she was his fiancée. Etiquette, this was all etiquette. Alright, you have the final say. Muronging actually followed Li Fan's wishes this time, which surprised Li Fan. Amitba, thank you, Alliance Master Murong. The flowery monk, who did not know Qigong, had no other choice but to take the car. Li Fan followed Muronging into the alpha. Muronging gently crossed her legs, looking at Li Fan with a faint smile. What's wrong with your face, is it twitching? Li Fan reminded, this is an illness, you have to treat it. Just now, were you jealous? Muronging wasn't angry. Instead, she asked. What a joke, why would I be jealous? Li Fan grinned, who am I? People call me the little overlord. You are my woman, only a woman will be jealous of a man. I didn't expect you to be a straight man. Not to that extent, in any case, I will not be jealous because of you. Li Fan and Muronging were in a state of unwillingness to admit defeat. You are definitely mistaken. You, this person, are really boring. Muronging ridiculed Li Fan, obviously you are jealous, will it kill you to admit it? You still have the nerve to say that. Li Fan curled his lips, aren't you the same? Me? Although I am a woman, I am indomitable. Muronging said openly, what's the matter, I dare not admit it. Then let me ask you, do you like me? When Li Fan asked, Muronging was stunned for a moment. Answer me, Alliance Master Murong of the heaven and earth. Li Fan asked. Muronging turned her head to the side and looked out the window. In front of Medicine King Valley, there is a big illusion array, you must be careful. Hey, you haven't answered my question yet. The big illusion array will mislead your senses. Muronging continued, it is very scary, you must listen to my instructions. Humph, you are also a coward. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.